interface that's at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to collect all those questions, and then we're going to ask those at the end. That'll give our presenters enough time to get through their presentation. Okay, and with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker for today, and we're happy to have as a sponsor of this year's event, Lytx, and we're going to be hearing from Greg Geisler, who's the Regional Sales Manager for Lytx, and Greg is a leader in the fleet safety and video industry with over 9 years of experience working with transportation and field service fleets. And he is the Regional Sales Director out of the company's central team, which oversees Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. And Greg engages with fleets looking to improve safety and make an impactful change in driver behavior. And with that, we're going to turn things over to Greg.
I appreciate that introduction there. So hold on here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys, and we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, Brad, you might have to give me control there. It says I cannot share while you're sharing. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, guys. Well, again, I appreciate you guys having me in today. My name is Greg Geisler. As Brad was saying, I am from Lytx here. What I'm going to be going over today is, what we're doing with pest companies and how we're utilizing our technology to improve driver safety across the board for them. So we are a proud member of the National Pest Management Association. So again, we do say thank you for having us and also helping us get introductions with you guys to help you guys with driver behavior. My name is Greg Geisler. I will go over a little bit about the background of Lytx and then how we're implementing our programs to a number of service companies, especially in the pest industry. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of Lytx here, guys. We've been in business for about 20 years now. Most of our competition has been in the video space since 2015. So we pretty much started the video space in vehicles. We do have over 1 billion of miles of data driven in mileage every month coming in. And why this is important for us is because the more mileage and data that we do collect over time, the better and more accurate our artificial intelligence is. So again, the more data, the smarter our device actually gets over time. We do have over 60% of the market share out there. So close to 7 out of 10 fleets do elect to go with Lytx. Number reason for this, guys, is our customer support and again, the accuracy of our data that we do provide our clients. We do have a 97% retention rate. So when those clients do come up for contract renewal, 97% of them are renewing with us. We do offer 3 different types of programs through Lytx, which is nice because you guys get to pick and choose what program best fits your company. If you look on the bottom here at the Lytx video platform, this is looking at 50 hours inward, 50 hours outward of video for your clients and your drivers. You can actually save and send video from your connected device. And for this really looks at the past examples of, let's say, if a driver does get in an accident last week or 2 weeks ago, this gives you guys the power to go back, find that video for insurance claims or for just driver coaching there. The next tier, guys, is the risk detection service. This is becoming more and more popular, and I'll get into why there. But this one really uses the monitoring of the camera to really engage with the driver as they're driving that vehicle on the road. So the MVAI is used to identify and categorize exception-based events for different behaviors, including texting and driving. Let's say they're not wearing a seatbelt or they're drinking or smoking in the vehicle. These events actually are captured by the camera and identify them, send it over to your manager, your director of safety, but we can also send it to your driver even. So we're doing a lot of, basically for the driver, it's self-coaching themselves, which is becoming more and more popular today. On the top program here is the driver safety program. This will provide you guys human reviews. So if there were specific events that you did want us to capture and you wanted to kind of weed out some of the bad videos, what we do is we have human review to make sure we are sending you the most 100% accurate video that you need today for your fleet. Okay. This will provide you guys different types of dashboards and KPIs also. And then, we will provide safety scores and safety performance to your drivers and groups. What we can also give you guys is program reviews with this program. So we're meeting with you guys maybe on a quarterly or annually basis to make sure you guys are using the software to its full effect. We always like to say the most expensive software that people buy are the ones they don't use. So we really want to make sure you guys are engaged in the program. This is what the camera itself looks like here from Lytx. On the sides here, guys, you can see there's two blue buttons. I almost like to call these our panic buttons. So this will give your driver the ability to kind of participate in the program here. So if there was ever an incident that happened on the road, or they felt unsafe, or even if they're at a customer's house and they just wanted you to be alerted regarding something, they hit that blue button and they actually you're getting a recording of that, and you're also getting alerted from that driver. Okay, so again, it really gives your driver participation in the system itself. It is 4G LTE. We are picking up accelerometer events, speeding events, rolling stops. We do have continual recording, and I'll also talk about that a little bit, where we could actually continually record once that vehicle goes off. Depending on the vehicle type, you could be looking at 8 to 10 hours. I have a lot of clients, guys, that their company policy is, hey, we need to back up and have that camera facing our building. So it's an extra line of security overnight, which is really cool. And we also have live streaming. You guys, I'll talk a little bit about that. So you can do virtual ride along with your drivers. Okay. We understand that, specifically in the pest industry, these aren't professional drivers. They're professional techs. And we know they make a lot of stops during the day to a number of different clients. And, they tend to also even be younger drivers. So they're, more used to that texting and driving world. If we look at the inside, or actually, I'm sorry, the outside, we'll also provide you guys different alerts for your drivers. So if you guys have been getting complaints, let's say regarding tailgating, what we can do here is provide you different alerts to your drivers in cab. So this one's going to play.
Following distance.
So they'll be getting that type of alert saying following distance. If it's a little more critical, that's a longer speed,
critical distance.
They'll get a little critical distance audio alert. And when that alert's going off, guys, they understand that you, the manager, are also getting these recorded events. So it's really crazy how fast the driving behavior changes over time. Another popular one that is pretty new is speeding alert. Okay, so
speeding.
You can customize 10 to 15 miles an hour over that posted speed, so your driver is actually getting alerted when they're speeding. A lot of times you don't even realize you're speeding until you constantly look down at your dash. This is being given to them in real time. So again, if you guys can tell, it's really proactive coaching, and we're really trying to stop that accident from happening. We do have rolling stops, since the machine vision can recognize signs, and then the GPS will recognize how fast they are going through. And then lastly, just a lane departure. This is for more fatigue.
Please mind your lane.
If they're not in their specific lane, we'll alert them on that as well. Now, if we look at the interior side of the vehicle itself, you look at handheld devices, a big one today. I'm sure everyone can agree with that most of the accidents today, about 70% or more, are happening because folks are on their phone and distracted in some way. So our machine vision and AI is able to detect that handheld device in hand, or if they're constantly looking down at it, and then we'll alert them on that.
Distracted.
Again, it's an audible alert that will really nudge the driver to really pay attention to what they're doing. If seatbelt's a big company policy for you guys, we are able to recognize that seatbelt over the chest.
Please check your seatbelt.
Also alert them there. These other ones here, guys, same type of audio alert you're getting, just if they're distracted, if their driver's smoking, and if they're eating or drinking, we'll catch all of those. Okay.
Distracted. Distracted.
If we want to look at the UI portion, where you're looking at a driver's report, so you can quickly glance at who is the most offense, who has the most offenses here. what you can do here is we have handheld device, attentive driving, food or drink. So you can quickly look at, based on the drive time of that driver, what percent are they actually on their phone? What percent are they distracted? What percent are they smoking? So this will kind of give you guys a quick look at, what's really going on and who I need to talk to right away. If we're looking at the mystery damage, so a lot of our clients actually have a lot of mystery damage that happens. When the driver's outside of that vehicle, they always, something happens and, they don't know how it happened. This is where that continual recording comes into place. We do catch a lot of hit and runs, and clients really love the camera feature with the continual recording because they're able to provide this in the insurance claim, or the police, and either exonerate their driver, or hey, God forbid their driver's at fault. The live streaming. So this is a really cool feature. So again, if something happened, say at a client's house, or there was an accident, you as a manager can virtually log into the live stream of that camera and see what's happening inside or outside at any given time, which is really neat in case, something ever did happen that, you need to get visibility on something. You actually will be able to, again, virtually ride along. So on the map portion here, you will see this little vehicle go down the street, and you'll be watching what's going on outside or inside that vehicle at that given time. Okay. If we want to look at the fleet tracking, I know a lot of folks, probably even on this call, have the GPS vehicle tracking. That is a part of our service as well. It's just an add-on if you're interested. Built inside the camera. So again, we're not using two different pieces of equipment. Everything's in the camera. We will give you, of course, a real-time vehicle location. We can always locate that closest vehicle, give you different types of reports around maintenance or safety or fuel usage, idling, you name it. It will give you everything that you probably have today in your fleet tracking service. We do have geofence editing as well. You can mark and change any type of geofence you would like in our program. We also can give you reports based on how long they're inside or outside of geofence. And a really good one, a lot of our clients geofence their building, or just specific customer locations that you're either commercially at or residentially, like a large development. So again, if anything ever did happen, guys, if an accident happened, you can go into our video search and even make a geofence around a certain area. And then if somebody was in that area during that time or day that you possibly got a phone call from a citizen saying your driver cut me off or pulled, had some kind of road rage incident, quickly I identify if that actually happened or not. And we have clients that send that video to someone that did call in and complain and say, hey, we have video, nothing happened. Or again, if something did happen with your driver, then you can go ahead and coach them on that. We do have the video browse in fleet tracking. So which is really cool. You could be on the map and you could actually, again, log into that vehicle from the map and view that video live, save that video if something did happen, or you can even go back a day, week, or whenever to look at a certain trip where you will have different icons along the breadcrumb trail. Let's say an example is a speeding event. You can click that speeding icon on the map, view that video, and save it, send it to your driver. So there's always a lot of context around a specific event. I know with just GPS tracking and those type of reports, you might get a hard break and that might go against your driver's score. But our video might say this was a hard break due to a vehicle cutting, your driver off. So we really want to show positive recognition with this type of system as well. And with that is built into our software where you can recognize someone out of the software and either send them a certificate of some sort. It's very customizable to your liking. We do have, let's talk about the driver experience. So we want your drivers to participate in this program. We don't really want this to be a, very punishable type of program. We want to have a good culture with you, your driver, to really drive that safety focus. So if we're looking at real-time alerts for your driver, again, this is proactively coaching them. We can actually have drivers check into that vehicle. So if you do have drivers jumping in and out of vehicles on a daily basis, weekly basis, where you may not know which driver's in which vehicle at that given time, if they actually have our phone-based app on their phone and they wave the the app in front of that lens of the camera, it will log them into that vehicle. Okay, so all those videos will be escalated to that specific driver's name for that safety score. Once they log in, they will be able to actually look at all their videos of that day. So that, again, they can self-correct themselves. And then they will be getting an email at the end of the week to kind of show where they rank in the company. So if we looked at a quick snapshot of what your driver would be viewing, they can scroll down all their videos at the end of the day. They can click into them and get a little more data and comments from Lytics, as if we're saying, hey, you're going 75 and a 50, or you were distracted here by using your phone. And what's really cool about this is that, you know, a lot of your drivers, if they get called in to talk to you about a safety occurrence or a specific event, they pretty much know what they're walking into because they're getting these videos as well. So there's really no excuse for them to keep repeating that bad behavior. We do have the track progress here on the right-hand side. So again, your driver can see what they need to focus on and how they're progressing week by week. And then that driver summary email will come to your driver at the end of each week so they can see how they're ranking in the company itself. Okay. And also look at, you know, what improvements and focus areas that they need to improve on. So your bottom line impact, guys, I know a lot of it has to do, you know, what's my return? What's my return? This is the average return that we are seeing from our drivers on the return on investment piece. On claims, if you guys are having issues with a certain amount of claims, on our low end, you're looking at a 45% reduction in claims. On the high end, you're looking at 75. Okay, and that's huge, especially for insurance companies, where a lot of companies that we are seeing today, they're getting kicked off their insurance because of the high risk and high accident rates that they're having. So we're really here, guys, to really focus on that driver behavior and really reduce any type of at-fault accidents that you guys might be getting, you know, sued for, which, you know, you really shouldn't be getting blamed for these type of accidents. I know when, especially specifically commercial vehicles, when you're getting an accident, someone looks at it, they see that logo on the side of the vehicle and they see dollar signs falling. We're really here to stop that from happening and really exonerate your company, your reputation, and your driver. Okay. Fuel wise, we're seeing a ton of savings on fuel just because we're increasing the driver and how they're treating their vehicle. Speeding, hard cornering, all this actually goes to that fuel impact. And then the maintenance side, again, that same thing, where we're seeing a lot of reduction in maintenance costs as well over time. And then lastly here, guys, a huge reason why we have that 97% retention rate here at Lytics is because of our customer support that we're providing our customers today. We do have a how-to articles, tutorial videos for you or your drivers. We do weekly webinars, which are live, that customers attend and actually give those webinars to really tell you guys how they're using the system and how what kind of best practices they're doing to better their fleet. We do have e-learning courses, learning plans, and then also, you know, you'll have a dedicated person that you'll know pretty well over time that you can contact directly to ask for any type of support that is needed. So I know I spoke quickly there, guys. I did want to leave the last 10 minutes for any questions that anyone may have. So again, you can contact myself or anyone at Lytics if you guys need further information on how we can help your fleet today. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg. We did get some questions that came in, and again, we'll just continue to field those throughout the Q&A if you want to type those into the Q&A box in your screen there. Greg, a question that came up was, is this system available in Spanish?
Yes. Yeah. So we're a global company. So yeah, we do have that available.
Another question that came in was, Greg, what three major aspects of these devices are cost effective?
What three main aspects are cost effective? I would say, I mean, first, we're going to be reducing those accidents. Is a huge cost saving to the program itself. I've seen lawsuits, I've seen reduction in claims, I've seen discounts from the insurance company that a lot of our clients do see. We are partnered with a number of insurance companies Most likely some of the insurance companies that you guys may have today, we're working with, or, you could see a reduction in 10% of your premium cost. Insurance companies are pushing these cameras because they're trying to avoid those lawsuits as much as possible. So a lot of times they are helping you guys. So even if, if anything after this meeting, I would actually go to the insurance company you're working with and ask them if they do give you some type of package for a camera.
Greg, a couple questions came in about pricing. I don't know if you want to get into that discussion now or maybe just talk in general terms, but the question that came in was, what is the cost for a fleet of 7 vehicles?
So yeah, it definitely varies. So the 3 different programs I did show you guys, there is a difference in cost associated to each of them. And what's really good about Lytix is it's not like you have to buy the camera up front. We can roll in the cost of the camera into the monthly subscription. So it's not like you're taking a lot of money out of the bank to go into business with us. We're a very easy company to work with. But depending on the program that you want, it really will depend on the cost of the system itself. Just to give you guys some general range on and what you're looking at, you can look at any pricing from low 20s to low 30s to low 40s to low 50s, depending on if you buy the camera versus rolling it into the subscription cost.
Greg, a question came in was, does the product record interactions with police at a traffic stop? And is the driver obligated to inform the officer that they are being recorded?
So that, again, with the camera always recording, guys, you guys won't miss a beat. Okay. So if they do get pulled over by a police officer, that I am not 100% sure if you actually have to tell the police officer if they are being recorded. They might see the camera and just assume that, but I would assume you wouldn't have to tell a police officer. But again, guys, I'm not 100% on that. I actually have never been asked that question, but no matter what happens to that vehicle in any engagement with a police officer, it will be caught.
It's a good question. And then there was follow-up on the pricing. Just to what you were speaking to before, was that pricing per vehicle?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So that's going to be, it's a per vehicle subscription cost.
A question was, do you provide installation services?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so we can come on site, guys. We could do a training on site if you would elect us to, let's say, install 5 and show you guys how to do it, and then you guys can take on the rest. We also even can install all of them for you guys if you would like, and even with that cost, we can roll that into the subscription. So again, you're not really paying anything up front.
A question was, for how long is the video kept?
So the main events, guys, that are triggered, let's say a distraction event, an accident, those are in our system for 90 days. Obviously, guys, if you guys do save those videos to, let's say, a file on your computer, it's very easily downloadable. You guys have that forever. But in our system itself, it will stay in there for 90 days.
And a question came in. So are you currently working, just to clarify, are there current pest control companies that you currently work with?
Yeah, we do work with a number. I wanted to shout out to Lloyd Pest Control is one that we work very closely with. But yes, we do work with service companies. We're actually increasing year over year the service companies we work with, pest being one of them. We did an analysis, and pest industry is actually one of the higher risk industries in the market today. So we're starting to really see an upward trend, specifically in the pest industry itself.
Greg, a question came in was, can you buy it overseas, for example, in Guatemala?
Yeah, I mean, I believe so. I would have to double check in Guatemala just to make sure we have coverage there. But again, I believe we can, but let me double check on that. I can give you an answer probably pretty quickly on on that question if you wanted to reach out to me personally on that.
Yes, and that same person did ask for your contact email.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to mention that now, or do you want to just kind of do that right at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I can go back here, guys, at the first slide here. Let me, I'll have my contact information up for you. And again, yeah, feel free to contact me directly, shoot me an email, whatever you would like right there.
And then a question that came in was, can I purchase just one camera, and is there a limit?
We usually try to keep it, guys, at a 5 vehicle limit. If it's something that you guys wanted to try out per se, we could look at a different option there. But we typically don't sell one unit at a time, unfortunately.
A question was, if a company currently uses a GPS system, can your sales reps identify if your platform can replace existing equipment/software?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so we do both, guys. We work with a lot of companies that already have that GPS system in place and they have, let's say, a 2 or 3 years left on their contract. We don't affect it at all. Really, again, since we're only using one piece of equipment, once that GPS contract does go out, and you just want to move everything to Lytics and you already have our piece of equipment, aka the camera in your vehicle, all you do would let us know and we'll add it to your package. So no new equipment, no new installation. We'll just add it to your software there on the update.
Another question, international. Are you available in Israel, or will you be available in Israel soon?
I believe so. Yes, we actually working with a company we purchased not too long ago that came from Israel. So yeah, we do have coverage in Israel.
Another question came in is, what is the minimum contract length?
You would most likely be looking at a 36-month is our minimum, up to, we can go up to 60 months or greater. Obviously, the longer the contract, the better, price you would get. Our minimum's 36 months.
See if we can squeeze one more question in here before we move on here. Can you talk about how Lytics helps safeguard a company's reputation?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times, guys, again, we're really trying to protect your reputation. A lot of accidents that commercial vehicles do get in, and most of the time it's not even their fault. That's one huge major way we do protect our companies today, protect their logo, protect their driver's job, and your reputation. Another one is, again, for insurance purposes. An insurance company is gonna love you if you have a camera in your vehicle and you're tending touring or trending in the right direction with your driver safety scores, driver behavior. If we've had a lot of clients where our clients are getting sued by someone in the public. As soon as that attorney comes over and says, "Hey, we're coming at you guys with a lawsuit," and they respond, "Okay, we got video." They drop that lawsuit completely, or they say they're not representing that client anymore. So in terms of lawsuits itself, and when they hear videos in the vehicle, it's a game changer. And then obviously third, I would say taking care of your driver, making sure they're getting home safe to their families, and avoiding the workman's comp and any other type of downtime for a vehicle or driver himself really goes a long way in efficiency for a company. And there's a number of other use cases that you guys can use video for. I'm sure you're sitting behind a computer right now saying, "Hey, if I had video during this incident, this would have been solved months ago." So it does save you a lot of time, money, and effort.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you again. And again, for folks that are participating, Greg's contact information is up there. I think we got to all your questions, but if you do have a question that comes to mind later, certainly jot down Greg's contact information and follow up with him. He'll be happy to help you with. So Greg, thanks for a terrific presentation, and thank you for Lytics to being a part of our event today.
Great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we are going to move on to the next part of our vendor showcase today, and got a couple companies here today. They're going to be talking about bedbug products, and bedbug market is it's just a tremendous market, and it's kind of always evolving. And this year, of course, with COVID-19, it had to evolve once again. So it's really great to have some bedbug product vendors here to kind of help you, give you some advice and some products and services that can help you grow that business and adapt to some changes in that market this year. So right now we're going to be hearing from couple speakers from Bedbug Central, and we're going to be hearing from Danny White and Jeff White, and they're going to talk about some of the new product offerings from 2020 from both the Sensei and Bedbug Central. Just kind of go real quickly, kind of give you a brief introduction here of Jeff and Danny, and we'll start off with the younger of the two Whites. We'll start off with Danny. So Danny is he's a sought-after bedbug treatment consultant and account manager for Bedbug Central, and he is specialized in complex issues surrounding the execution of bedbug treatments in office structures and commercial facilities for the past 6 years. And his expertise includes it really kind of is on some of the challenging practices of bedbug treatments, and he's also trained under nationally regarded entomologists Rick Cooper and Jeff White. And then we'll switch over to Jeff White here. So Jeff has a master's degree in entomology from the University of Florida, and he focuses the majority of his time and work to research bedbug biology and behavior, as well as evaluating tools and techniques for their control. And so with that, we're going to turn things over to Danny and Jeff.
All right. Thank you much. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Obviously, we're in special times right now in regards to COVID and everything we're dealing with. And if you're in the Northeast where we're from, we're expecting our first significant snowstorm literally starting any minute, probably in 2 or 3 years. So a little bit of energy in the air in regards to that. Let me minus this here just so it gets out of the way. All right. And so what we want to talk about today is basically, 2021 and everything Bedbug Central has going on in regards to products. In 2021, you're going to see Bedbug Central retiring its name. One of the things that we have seen as we've evolved as a company is we're starting to branch into other opportunities, being, specific to bed bugs for the last 10 years. Has been a great adventure. We've learned a lot, and obviously you guys, many of you have probably seen me speak around the industry and talk about our experience with bed bugs and whatnot. But obviously relying solely on one pest can be a difficult route to go down when it comes to running a company. Obviously, Brad alluded to it, which is, COVID has dramatically impacted bed bug populations. Not that bed bugs get COVID, but social distancing, is definitely going to impact the flow of bed bugs. And we've seen a lot of pest control companies report, their bed bug numbers being significantly down. And obviously, as a company that manufactures bed bug specific products, that then in the end will also drive our revenue numbers down. And so we've always talked about, going beyond bed bugs for many years now. And 2021 is going to be the year where we start that process. I'm going to talk later about the pyramid pitfall trap, which is our first product offering that is going to go beyond bed bugs. And we're also going to be taking over the leadership classes that Evolve YT rolled out this past year. And Danny's going to talk more about those classes when we get to his section in the second half of today. But what I wanted to do here is just kind of tease that in 2021, you will see us retire the Bedbug Central name and roll out a new umbrella company name. But as far as you're concerned on this call, Bedbug Central and the new company name is going to continue with the 2 brands that you are probably used to, which is Sensei, which is our hard goods brand. And under that, we have a bunch of products that I'm going to talk about in a second. And then we are going to be absorbing the Evolve YT team, and we're going to be putting all of our soft goods under the Evolve YT name, which is our leadership classes, our bedbug boot camp, which some of you may have been through the years. We're going to be rolling out other pest classes in the near future, and then any of our consulting services that we offer. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview of where the company is going, because in addition to rolling out new products and new classes, we also have a lot of rebranding stuff going on. And to say that the conversations behind the scenes have been chaotic over the last couple of months would be an understatement. And so let's roll into products. As far as new products and new designs in 2021, let's start with the one that's actually not going to change. And so many of you may be familiar with the Sensei Blackout, which goes under the legs of beds and couches and captures bed bugs as they travel to and from the bed. This product will not be undergoing any changes. What you're used to is what you'll be seeing. If you have any questions, you can always ask, we get to the Q&A section or after the fact. Sensei Active will be the first that we're going to talk about going through a change. Many of you may be used to using the Sensei Active packet. Obviously, you tear along the tear line and, open up the packet, you leave the towelette and whatnot inside, and it begins the release of the attractant that mimics sweat, which is one of the things that bed bugs are attracted to. We have known for a while now that this product was going to need to be redesigned due to some shortcomings in product availability in regards to the film the packet is manufactured of. And so what we have done is we have created what we are calling Sensei Active CR. CR stands for controlled release. And for those of you that are familiar with Insects Limited, you may be familiar with the image that's on the screen. This is the bullet lure delivery system that Insects Limited has been, manufacturing and selling for many years now. We have partnered with Insects Limited in this design. And what we're doing is we're going to be packaging the same attractant, but in Insects Limited's bullet delivery system. Insects Limited has been a fantastic partner. If you're not familiar with them, I highly suggest you become familiar with them. They're a fantastic company built upon great core values. And our two companies have synergized quite well in regards to developing this new delivery system. And so you'll see Sensei Active CR released in the first month or two of 2021. And the bottom line is we're leveraging their bullet delivery system. You take the vial, it's going to come in a small Ziploc bag of 12 of these, and you basically open up the Ziploc bag, take one out, which will automatically begin releasing the attractant. You should still have the same 2 to 3 months of lifespan in regards to the attractant. And the bottom line is CR being controlled release. This is just a much cleaner, I'll call it, delivery system. We're really excited. In my opinion, it's a more professional feel, a controlled release, and we're excited to be partnering with Insects Limited on this product launch. One of the things we had to do, and you'll see in this semi-silly video here I filmed from my home, we had to redesign the volcano bottom. So many of you may be, familiar with the Sensei Volcano. The bottom will be altered in a way that you can secure the vial, the active CR vial, in the actual bottom. And what I'll do is I'll play it again as I'm talking. And you'll see when I pick up the bottom here. Now, the bottom will not be white. It will be clear when it is launched. That is just a 3D printout. But the bottom line is you're going to have a cavity you can nest the vial into. It has a little slot that you can stick a pointed item in to get the vial back out. And it was just a way to secure that vial. So that way, if there's any hazards associated with the vial being unsecured, it will hopefully address that. And so the redesigned volcano bottom will be launched alongside the active CR vial. You can use the older packet in the new design with the amended bottom. Obviously, it fits a little awkward inside of it, but it does fit. And so if you do have some old active foil pouches, they will still work in the redesigned volcano bottom. So here's a quick close-up picture of it, and you can see the vial nested into the cavity that's been created. So the truly new product that we'll be launching in 2021 is the Sensei Pyramid Pitfall Trap. And as I mentioned before, this is our first product that's going to start to launch us into other pests. As you can see in the artwork, it is definitely designed for roaches as well. And so here we have the Sensei Pyramid. Listen, the bottom line here is there's two things going on. Number one, we wanted to leverage the volcano design. And so the design of this is very similar to the volcano that you're used to. But we wanted to launch a cardboard trap that was a little bit more cost effective. And, for years, obviously, the industry has largely talked about how many of the glue boards on the market are not super effective for bed bugs. And, I had some design ideas in my head for many years, and I thought I could probably overcome some of the shortcomings and make a glue board that was truly effective for bed bugs. And that was really the concept behind this product, was to design a glue board that's effective for bed bugs, but in doing so, make it effective for other pests as well. And so the bottom line is what we've created here is a pitfall trap. It's a pitfall trap that's in a glue board design. It will be more cost effective than the volcano that we currently manufacture. Now, it is going to be priced a little higher than your average glue board on the market. The way we had to design this to make it effective for bed bugs created a unique manufacturing process where our manufacturer had to literally bring in special equipment just to do what we were trying to achieve. But the bottom line is in our preliminary testing, we've had some fantastic results with bed bugs. Now, our beta evaluators did choose what you'll see called the LP version, or the low profile version. This version is the same size as the volcano. We are going to eventually probably have a larger version as well, But all our beta evaluators like the smaller version. And I think that's primarily from a cockroach perspective. You can get this smaller version into little nooks and crannies underneath sinks, for instance, and it's just easier to use in those environments. You can also use the active CR in the glue board. And so you can see in the image on the right, the attractant is stuck to the glue. You unfortunately cannot use the foil pack though in the new pyramid pitfall trap. The foil pack will actually, the older active style, will actually cover the entire bottom because it's the same size as the volcano, and the bugs will have a difficult time accessing the glue. And so, listen, I don't want to say you can't use it. You probably can use it because remember, you're tearing the corner off and the bugs will probably still find that glue surface in the corner there, but it will be very difficult to inspect. And so how I'll position it is it's less than ideal. And the bottom line here is that, it's just a more cost-effective option to monitor for bed bugs. It doesn't mean that the volcano is going to go away. I think the volcano is going to be better suited for professional environments, but the pyramid offers you a more cost-effective option to monitor in certain environments. And as we said before, it can be used for roaches. This is some video and images I took at Rutgers University just a couple weeks ago with German cockroaches interacting with the glue trap or the cardboard trap. And you'll see in the middle video getting stuck to the glue surface. And so we are optimistic this will be an effective product for roaches as well. And so we'll be launching in the coming months a free trial campaign. If you're interested in a free trial of the pyramid pitfall trap, please contact Danny after the fact, and we'd be more than happy to send you a small little sample pack and, want feedback, honestly, on what people think of the product. So the bottom line is, as far as the new products are concerned, I'll say, first half of February is my conservative time frame. I think in the second half of January, you'll start to see us really starting to move out with some of these products. But second half of January, first half of February, for any of those on the call that does product development, knows that product launch and product development is a often moving target. And so we're doing our best, but second half of January, first half of February, we're very confident all three products will be released. So I'll hand the screen off to Danny here, and I'll be controlling the presentation. So if you hear Danny say next slide, it's because I'm controlling the presentation.
Thank you, Jeff. So like I said, there's our hard goods section of the presentation. So now what I'm going to talk about is Jeff alluded to the soft goods and kind of our education portion. And some of you may be familiar, some of you maybe not, but we actually used to have something called Bedbug Boot Camp. And basically in 2009, we were more known for our education as we weren't in product development yet. We were more traveling the country, speaking in front of state associations, pest management companies, affected industries, and talking about biology, behavior, bed bugs. But more importantly, what people brought us in for is our no prep bed bug philosophy. And what we mean by that is prior to 2009, pest control companies were asking residents to prepare prior to the bed bug treatment. And if they didn't prepare, they were told that they weren't able to eliminate the issue. And when we came about in 2009, that's when we really started talking about our no prep. Is we actually believe preparation actually makes the problem harder to eliminate. And that's really why people brought us in to kind of learn more about that philosophy. And in 2010, we started Bedbug Boot Camp. And basically what that was is pest control providers would come from all over the country to New Jersey, where we're located, and they would spend 4 days with us. And the 4 days, I'm going to break down the 4 days. The 4 days would be, the first day would be all technical field work. Basically, Jeff would talk about the no prep philosophy, the tools that are being used, the interception devices, what goes into that program. And it's a full day, day one was. Day two was really the unique day, as we worked very closely with a pest control provider out of New Jersey, and we would actually take the attendees out in the field for an entire day to really truly see how the no prep bedbug philosophy works. It's always best to learn in the field. So that was day two. Day three was the business behind bed bugs, is learning how to price bed bug jobs, differentiating your services, recurring revenue streams, and kind of leveraging that to make yourself stand out amongst the crowd when it comes to pest control providers. And day four was more of a review. So like I said, we started that in about 2010, and our last class was held in December of 2018. And what happened was, the reason we got rid of Bedbug Boot Camp is because the company we worked very closely with sold, so we didn't have that field day training. And since then, obviously our phones ring and people are always asking, when is Bedbug Boot Camp coming back? Is it ever coming back? And Corona got us to sit down and think about what are we going to do now. So we're actually bringing back Bedbug Boot Camp in 2021, and you guessed it, 100% virtual. And that's basically what it's going to be. It's going to be 2 days, all over the computer. It's not going to be 8 hours amongst those 2 days. Basically, what it's going to be, we broke it up where it's going to be 4 hours in day one. Day one's going to be the technical training, the no prep protocol, really diving in. It's going to be shorter, but we're still going to address the same topics as we did in the 4-day boot camp. Day two is kind of be a hybrid. Day two will be 3 hours of business, basically pricing, recurring revenue streams, differentiating your services. But the real field day is going to be both myself and Jeff are going to be going out in the field and filming a initial service. And what we're going to be doing is playing that during the Bedbug Boot Camp and breaking it down and stopping it periodically and going over different tips and tricks when using the no prep philosophy. And this is where it really comes in, the investment. So the historic Bedbug Boot Camp, it was $2,000 for the first person, and every additional person would be $1,500 for the company. Well, now it being virtual, it's actually $995 per company, but every company that signs up gets up to 5 attendees, meaning you can have 2 salespeople in the class, 2 technicians, and 1 manager, and you can break it up amongst you feel fit in order to get the best results. So we're excited to bring Bedbug Boot Camp back. Like I said, we always like to spread our knowledge, and we can do it from the comforts of our own home. As me and Jeff used to travel across the country, and unfortunately, Corona has stopped that periodically, but we're excited to be able to do it. And Jeff, next slide. And so basically, the inaugural class is going to be February 9th and 10th. Like I said, we already have 4 companies signed up for Bedbug Boot Camp. And if you are interested, obviously shoot me over an email and we can get you the information that you need and all the sign up information. Next slide. And now let's talk about what the Evolve YT, the Leadership Development Series. I know if you guys attended the vendor showcase, I'd say about 2 months ago, Phil Cooper was on talking about his Evolve YT series. And I want to talk a little bit about that, but I really want to tell you a story about, I took all 6 courses. When I was at Cooper Pest Solutions, some of you may know I was with Cooper Pest Solutions previously, then coming over to Bedbug Central, is when I was there, is I took all of the Evolve YT classes. And as I said, there's 6 courses. And I had a little hesitation because I wasn't sure what I was going to get out of the classes. And I can honestly say these classes changed how I function day in, day out, whether it's from handling different generations, knowing how to work with a Gen Z, a Gen Y, a Gen X, a baby boomer. You learn things like that, how to look at finances, how to be profitable. And it really helped me from my business life, but also my personal life, how I how do I handle my wife from a leadership perspective, how I deal with coworkers. So I think the leadership class, I definitely did have a lot of hesitation, but after coming out of it, it was the best thing I did from my business background, is it changed how I functioned. And if you decide, it's 6 courses, as I said, and the courses are broke up into 6-week chunks. And the classes are held on Tuesdays between 3 and 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's, like I said, a 6-week commitment. And a lot of the questions we're getting is when we talk to owners of companies or supervisors is who is the best fit? And obviously future leaders is, I know when you look at your staff, you have potential future leaders, you know who they are, whether they're in leadership roles yet or not. And that's obviously they're a good fit, but also current leaders is people that have their supervisors of 2 employees, 10 employees, or 50 employees. Is yes, they are already a leader, but the topics that we'll talk about will help change how they deal with each of the people that they oversee, whether it's handling them differently and basically making them better at what they do. Next slide. And the courses. So these are the courses. The current course that's currently enrolled is Foundations of Leadership, Building the Greatness of Your Team, Attracting Great Talent or Repelling Wrong Fit. This is a funny one. Whenever we travel the country, we always talk about what's your biggest challenge within your pest management company. And a lot of times people say it's finding the right fit. It's one of the hardest thing to do is hiring the right talent. And that class, like I said, we'll go over that. And I think that was an awesome class. They're all great. Fast tracking your individual greatness. Bridging Generations was the class that was held last month. And Rubber Meets the Road is using finance to leverage results. That's the one that's currently being enrolled. Next slide. The start date for that is going to be February 2nd, 2021. And if you are interested, let me know. And also, we're offering people to sit in on the current class free of charge to kind of get a better feel of the class, what it's all about, kind of how it is. Because right now at Foundations of Leadership, we have over 30 people signed up. There is some homework, but it's not extensive. There are some readings. And like I said, that stimulates the conversation week by week. And it's really interesting to see the different size companies and the different takeaways each company's getting. So like I said, it's definitely fun to see that. And if you'd like to sit in on a class, let me know. They're currently on winter break. The next class will be January 5th. And I believe they have 4 classes in January. So if you want to sit in free of charge, just to kind of get a better feel, let me know and we can get you signed up. We'll send you all the information so you can sit in. And that basically winds down my section, and I want to thank obviously Brad for having us. We appreciate it. Here's our contact information, both our email addresses and our cell phone numbers, and I'll hand it over to Brad.
Yeah, I want to make a couple quick comments before Brad fires off some questions. So from the class's perspective, one of the things that I want to make sure people understand as well, if you're a CEO or an owner or a high-level manager within your company on the call today, one of the things I think people have had the most value from with those classes is the feedback that we're going to provide you on the employees that you send. One of the biggest battles I think owners face is identifying who their future leaders are and who are the employees that just need to stay in their current role. There's nothing wrong with that. It's, sometimes you just have people that aren't your future leaders. And we, as a group, will provide you feedback on what we have learned about your employees and help you identify who are your ones you want to escalate moving forward. And then lastly, the generations class, I can't say enough about. As a guy part of our executive leadership team, we have a mix of people on the executive leadership team. And we have baby boomers, we have Gen Xers and Gen Ys, and it's just funny to see how each of these groups communicate with each other. And when you start to understand how each of those groups think and how they communicate differently, it really helps take the stress level down between the generations. When a baby boomer is communicating with Gen Y, there's gaps there. There just is. And, when you start to understand and identify those gaps, it really helps the communication process.
Thanks, Jeff and Danny. We'll just kind of jump right into the questions here. Jeff, I think the first one is for you, and that is, how large is the bullet delivery system? There's concerns about perhaps being a choke hazard for children.
Yep, that's why we created that cavity. That cavity should prevent access to it. I mean, obviously, if a child digs deep enough, nothing's truly safe. But it's small. I mean, you definitely could. That's one of the things we're consulting with a liability expert on right now. And so that's why the cavity exists. It's to secure it and make it a lot harder to access. But yeah, it's small. I don't know the exact measurements, but it's probably an inch long. It's not big.
And is the Sensei vial labeled?
The vial itself is not labeled, but obviously the Ziploc bag will have labeling that it comes in. And so the vial itself, though, is not.
Danny, a question for you. Do you receive a diploma for the bedbug boot camp when in the virtual format?
Basically, you still will receive a certificate directly from us that you attended the bedbug boot camp and went through the 2-day course. Unfortunately, we don't offer CEUs, but like I say, we will offer a certificate at the end of the class.
Okay, and that was another question that came in was about the CEUs, so covered that one. The question came in is, why don't bedbugs live when you suck them up into a vacuum? Or do they live when you suck them up into a vacuum?
They do. A lot of times we'll tell homeowners if they, vacuum up bed bugs that you need to dispose of the vacuum bag and keep an eye on the vacuum itself because they will live inside of a vacuum bag.
A question came in about a course, so I'm not sure which of the courses, but I'll just ask. Maybe you can speak to both of them. Do you provide the course at one time in a year, free of charge?
We're working on the schedule of courses right now, actually. So no, the vision behind, well, it depends which course you're talking about. The vision behind the bedbug bootcamp course is probably offering it 3 times a year, which will probably be in the winter, the summer, and then in the fall. The leadership classes are going to cycle through the year. And so I would say every class would be offered every, let's say, 2 to 4 months. But to be honest with you, we're looking to scale especially the leadership classes and almost over the next couple of years, turn it into like a business school where they're being offered probably at all times. And so for right now, yes, it'll probably be every like 2 to 4 months. We're working through the cycle right now, what the schedule is going to look like. And over time, they'll probably be offered almost all times of the year.
And then just a clarification, do you use the same lure for German cockroaches and bed bugs?
It's a good question. No. No, the Sensi Active CR is specifically for bed bugs. As far as cockroach attractants are concerned, for right now, you should be using whatever cockroach attractant you're most comfortable using that would go comfortably inside or on top of in the glue board. And then over time, hopefully we'll be able to offer something for cockroaches as well. That's next on my plate of things to do.
A question came in was, I'm new to the pest control industry with very little knowledge and would like to get training. Where recommendations on where to start, and also maybe what is Bedbug Central and Evolve YT, where does it kind of fit into the service, the classes that you offer for someone who's new to the industry?
Brad, do you want to answer that from PCT's perspective?
PCT has some great resources as well, and I'm always happy to talk to you about those. But I'll give that back to you and Danny.
Yeah, obviously PCT have some great resources. You should look into what they offer. And then NPMA, obviously the National Pest Management Association, also has some great educational resources. And then Bedbug Central offers bedbug classes. Obviously, we'll be looking to expand to other pests in the future, and then leadership classes. I'll let Danny comment on.
Yeah, like I said, leadership classes, it sounds like you're looking for more of a pest management background and kind of like the ins and outs of treating whatever it is. And like I said, Jeff mentioned all the ones. As for the leadership classes, as you grow, it just makes you a better leader. If your company's going to grow it to a larger size and you already are, say it's only a one-man operation, as you grow, you want to build the background of becoming a better leader, how to handle different generations, so on and so forth.
Got a couple more minutes here. We'll try to get through a couple more. Have you ever tested the bedbug attractant on kissing bugs?
I have not, actually. It's an interesting little dynamic in question. Kissing bugs, obviously in the U.S. are not a huge problem. In Texas and some of their southern states, we do see them. Theoretically, I mean, the dynamic should be very similar in regards to bed bugs and kissing bugs. So no, it's an interesting question. And whoever asked it, if you ever do play with it and get any information, please share.
A question was, are there any present or future leaders at your business that you think could benefit from a leadership growth experience like the Leadership Development Series?
That's a great, funny question. And so we literally had a moment just a couple months ago where one of our executive leaders, made a generationally insensitive comment, which just basically, and I don't mean that in a bad way, just, said something about a younger generation that we were like, that's not how they work. They're not going to resonate to what you just said. And so we had one of our executives basically have to take the generations class because of some just generational insensitivity. So yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of all this, is that we're always learning and growing. And so even as executives, in our company, we've all taken the classes and, we're always looking to develop them and make them better.
A question came in was, how can I get a sample of, I think what they were saying was the volcano. It says VALC, perhaps might have been a typo there. Just kind of in general, can you guys talk about samples? What do you offer as far as samples, and how can what's the best way for people to get a hold of some samples that you guys offer?
And I can chime in on that. So basically, to get samples, obviously reach out to me directly. My contact information is on the screen. And like I said, we'd be willing to send out samples of our devices for you to try in the field to kind of see if it's a good fit for your business, for your current protocol, so on and so forth. So like I said, it's definitely reach out to me. I can work with you directly and kind of see what I can do for you.
Good deal. Hey guys, we're all out of time, but I want to thank you guys for terrific presentations and for being a part of our event, and hope you guys manage through the big snowstorm okay.
Thank you.
Starting any minute. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, we are going to move on to the next part of our vendor showcase, and happy to have a part of our showcase this year, Forshaw. And a lot of folks in the industry know Forshaw, one of the industry's really great distributors, family-owned distributor for a number of years now. And we're going to be hearing from Helen Baldone. And what she's going to talk about is the Forshaw app, a new offering from Forshaw that really kind of streamlined the ordering process. And Helen's going to explain that. I'll just give you a little bit of background on Helen. There we go. Sorry about that. So Helen joined Forshaw in January 2020 as the onboarding and event manager, and she works with customers on onboarding for the Forshaw Foresight app and also manages Foreshaw's events. And prior to Forshaw, Helen worked in business development for a pest control software company and has been in the pest control industry for more than 4 years now. And so with that, we'll turn things over to Helen.
Right. Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you to PCT for giving me the opportunity to share with everyone about Forshaw Foresight. So let me go ahead and share my screen and make sure everybody can see that. Anyone, Brad, can you just confirm?
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah, you're good. You're good to go, Helen.
Okay, great. Wonderful. All right. So some of you may have heard of the procurement app, Foresight. For those who have not, I'm really just going to talk about the two main components of it. It is a procurement app. One of those components allows you to order from Forshaw. And then the technician checkout piece really helps you manage your internal inventory. And we'll dive into each of those in a little bit in more detail. So on the ordering side, there are two types of orders that you can place, a replenishment and a fill-in. The replenishment is really going to be that monthly recurring order. So the products that you have to order each month, there's actually a forecast that the app will provide. And I'll talk about the different platforms as well. We have the mobile app, and then we also have a portal that is more of an administrative site. And so with the forecasted products, it will list the products needed based on your previous purchase history, or recommended, I say. You can still, make the changes of the quantities and what it is that you order. We're not forcing you to order anything that you don't need or want. And you determine a monthly shipment date. And once you approve, you can still modify anything within that order up until 2 days prior to that shipment date. So the forecast itself, I mentioned that we look at previous purchase history. It takes about 18 months of data to be able to generate that forecast. And so it will look at any trends. It will look at trends within, different seasons throughout the year. And it really is trying to prevent those major jumps and swings in product purchases. Sometimes you may order a lot and you may need it, but maybe you just over order and then there's a couple of months that you don't order at all. So it's really just trying to even that out over a 12-month time frame. What you see here on the screen, this is actually what your replenishment plan would look like available in our Foresight portal. So again, that's more of an administrative portal, and you can click on any of the products listed to view that purchase history from the previous year. So that's what you're looking at in the pink. The blue is going to be that target quantity that we recommend from the forecast, and that'll be available in the mobile as well, and we are about to take a look at that. And then you'll see some other dots on the screen that are in gray. And really, those are just the two other ranges that we give. So there is a low, a middle, and a high range of quantities recommended. So that was more of the Foresight portal. The actual orders will be submitted through your mobile app. And it is compatible with Google and Apple as well. So it's available in both of those Play stores. Once you log in, into the app itself, if you are a manager, which there are two roles, manager and technician, and a manager is the only one that can place the orders. So they'll have access to view the replenishment plan. You'll see here a list of products. Any of the products can be modified as far as removing it if you don't need it, selecting any of the predetermined quantities, or really just creating your own quantity. And then at the top here, you'll see there's a place for you to view additional item details. So for this particular example, I just went with 35, and all I have to do is click update. So it's very user-friendly. I know a lot of people probably ordering from their smartphones all the time from Amazon. So it's a very similar process. You just, click, make your changes, and you're done. So once you do make changes, it will reflect on that main screen. You can see here where I took it from 29 to 35, and that's represented with a green arrow pointing up to indicate an increase. If I had decreased it, it would be a red arrow pointing down. Now, once I have the order the way that I would like, and I do want to point out there is a search at the top, if you can see that. Just grab my mouse over here. And then you can search any of the products that aren't listed as well. So you can always remove, change quantities, and add any products that you need. Once the order is where you need it, you just click approve. Now this says request approval because I have my general manager mode enabled. And what that means is as a manager, I'm just requiring to receive approval from like another level. So maybe my boss or, maybe a regional manager before anything is submitted to Forshaw. Per company and per branch, you can decide whether or not to use that. So once it has been approved, either from the general manager or manager, it will be marked as approved, and then it will be set for your shipment date. Now, your planned shipment date will show at the bottom before you approve, along with the total cost of the products that you are ordering. If you need it before then, you simply can click a request urgently, which becomes available after you approve it. All right, so that's the replenishment. Again, that's something that you will be using on a monthly basis for those recurring products. As we know and have experienced so much within 2020, there are unexpected and unplanned items and situations that occur. So maybe you booked a big job, which we hope is the case, right? And you need more products. So to get you in between those monthly replenishment plans, we offer the fill-in option. And really, you just search for the product that you need. Once they are approved by you, they're immediately processed by Forshaw. You still can go through that, requesting approval from your GM, but there's no shipment date that's tied to it. So for the fill-in, what you would do is log in and use the lookup product at the bottom. You then search for the product and choose it from the catalog listing. And then you just select the quantity that you need. Now you can see here, I'm also given a history of previous fill-ins that I have purchased. So I can see basically, I already purchased 15 of these back on September 3rd, and here I am purchasing 20. So it keeps track of it for you, just in case you couldn't quite remember the last time you had to place a fill-in order. To add any additional products, you just click the arrow at the top and it will bring you back to the search. And you can search by the item number or description. And again, here we're just choosing the product, the quantity that we need, and that we're going to add it to a fill-in. All right, so now I have my fill-in. It sits out here kind of like a shopping cart or a bucket, if you will. Once you click on it, you can view all of the products. You still have the ability to make any changes to the quantities. You can add using the search at the top. But if you're ready to submit or request for approval, you just click the green button at the bottom. Have a quick confirmation, and once you click OK, you're done. So then Forshaw receives the order and prepares it for your delivery. So again, that was the procurement functionality within the app. We also have the technician checkout piece, which is really going to directly affect your internal inventory and really add value there, streamlining either an existing process. There are also a few companies that we work with that just don't have a process. Maybe they use the honor system, and that's fine. But if it's something that you want to track how much a product is being used by a particular employee, how often they're requesting, this is a good way to do that and have it all be digital. They don't have to be, in the office to request. There's no sign out sheets. It's just done from their mobile device. So the technicians do have different access. They cannot order anything from Forshaw. So they are simply just requesting products from your internal inventory. So when they log in, they will select new request, and they will have a list of products that they have been given access to. So if you have technicians that perform different services and they only need a limited amount of products to choose from, that's where I come into play. As the onboarding manager, I would work with you to identify those products, as well as any of the repackaging for them. So here they would just choose the product that they're looking for and then type in their quantity. Now I mentioned repackaging. The Termidor here has not been repackaged. It's sold in a 20-ounce bottle, and as a technician, I'm requesting 5 of those. But there may be other items like the Avion Ant Gel that are 4 to a pack, and maybe they just request 1 tube at a time. We would change that package quantity in the bottom right-hand corner to 1 tube or 1 syringe or whatever the item may be. If it's glue boards, maybe 1 glue board or 10 instead of the pack of 72. So that, again, is something that will be worked out during the onboarding process. All right, so once they've selected the items that they need, there is a green border that's placed around them, and they can use this only requested filter to view just those. If they've started the request and realized, you know what, I have a product in the back of my truck, they can just delete it altogether, or they can just keep it out there for when they need it again. But to remove it, they would just click the trash can in the top right-hand corner, and then they click Submit Request. So here they choose the time frame that they need, normal versus ASAP, and really that's determined internally with the company. So a lot of companies will say, you know, maybe by the end of the week on Friday, by the end of the day, you need to submit all of your requests to be picked up on Monday. And so in that case, within that scenario, if they were to request on Wednesday as an ASAP, then they would need it, you know, that week and not for pickup the next. So once they've chosen that, really the notification is sent to the manager that it needs to be approved. And that's done through a push notification. Once the manager receives that, they will then see the number of requests available for them to click on to view additional details. They can see the name, the time frame for the request, as well as when it was submitted. And to view the products, they just click on each one individually, and they can see the list of products for that technician. As a manager, you will be able to deny or reject the request by clicking the trash can. You can also modify very similar to what we were looking at on the procurement side. So ordering from Forshaw, where you could click on the product and change the quantity. As a manager, you can change the product quantity for the technician as well. You can also add and then remove individual products from their request. But if you have it looking the way that you want and everything is good for their checkout, you just click checkout. It will show checked out, and it does have a reopen option. So maybe if you accidentally approved it and you didn't mean to, or you had some modifications that you needed to make, you always have the ability to reopen. There's also a print checkout details. And really this is like a pick list or a pick ticket. So maybe you have a warehouse manager that needs to have the technician sign it out that they've actually, you know, received the product, and maybe the warehouse manager needs to sign that that they were able to distribute it. You don't have to use this. There are just a few people that still like that paper trail. So this just gives you the opportunity to utilize that. And it will list the technician as well as the products and the quantities for each. All right. So once you have fulfilled all of your requests, you will have this done message that you can click to view any of the history of approved or rejected requests within the past 30 days. All right, so I mentioned the Foresight portal earlier. That was the graph that I showed you with the previous purchase history. Within that portal, managers are the only ones that can access it. And they can add technicians, modify, you know, technicians, change names and email addresses if they need to do that. They can also manage the inventory. Both Forshaw and non-Forshaw products can be tracked through the technician checkout. And then they will also have access to reports. The reports will basically go hand in hand with both components. So you'll have order reports on the procurement side, and then the technician checkout reports as well, showing you a list of who's checked out, specific product, how much, what type, and so on. Now, we do have upcoming feature that will be rolled out at the end of this month, and it's really an extension or enhancement of our inventory management and maintenance. So what this will do is allow you to have the automated opportunity, or really its functionality, to deduct and add products. So as you order from Forshaw, it will automatically add to that specific internal inventory. And then as the technicians are requesting and managers are approving, it will deduct. With that, you can set a quantity threshold and receive notifications for when the low inventory is reached. And just really overall, the purpose of it and you know, functionality and benefit is that it really just helps you minimize your manual product counts. So it will look very similar to this. This was an early draft. So it is a little bit of a sneak peek and there will be a change. But basically you can put in your starting, current stock count and then set your threshold value as well. I don't have a screenshot of the history, but that's where it will track who checked out specific products, how much, and then also what was added back from shipments that you have received. And I thought I would just share what a few of the Forshaw customers are currently saying. I'm not going to read word for word from the screen, but this is from Jason Miller with Nozzle Nolan in West Palm Beach, Florida. Basically, he was saying it's really helped streamline the ordering process and also gives away a standard way for the technicians to order. They were using a paper process before, so it really helped kind of eliminate that and minimize any mistakes as well. And then we also have Emily Hartzell with ABC Commercial Services in Austin. She has said that it's been very helpful to manage each of their branches checkout items. So again, that would be, in reference to the technician checkout. And then the app itself has just been very user-friendly for them ordering products from Forshaw. And then we had one last quote from Jason, and this was on the ordering side. So the app itself has evolved a lot over 2020. And with that, it has allowed him to decentralize their processes and put the control in the hands of the branch managers. Before, what they were doing, all of the orders were being funneled through one person. And actually, you still can do that with the general manager. But I think he was really trying to move away from that, and the app has really allowed him to do that. All right, and that was basically everything that I had. I feel like I was talking really fast, and I'm a fast talker anyway. So if we have any questions, Brad, I think you were going to field those, right?
Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
We did get some questions that came in, and we will continue to field them. Again, if folks want to just type those into the Q&A section there on our website or on our interface there, we'll ask those throughout. Helen, one question we had was, will the replenishment orders automatically ship if I don't approve?
No. So what I mentioned earlier is that it really is just kind of a recommendation. If you don't need your replenishment order for whatever reason that may be, you don't have to approve it. Nothing will ever automatically ship to you.
Question came in is, are the products the tech's request added to the Foresight orders?
No. So, and I get that question a lot. So the technicians are just requesting products out of their internal inventory. They're not really affecting the orders on the procurement side that the managers would place either with a fill-in or a replenishment.
Question was, will I be notified when an item is low in inventory?
Yes. So you can set the threshold and then you will receive an email notification letting you know that it has reached that amount and that it's time to order more of that product.
Question came in was, how is the app flexible, and what are some possible changes and enhancements you foresee down the road?
So the comment about flexible, can we elaborate on that a little bit? Right now we have our most recent feature is going to be released at the end of the month. That is an extension on the inventory management. There may be a few more next year. We're really just reviewing all of the feedback that we're getting from those currently using it. It's still a fairly new addition and product that's been added for Forshaw.
Question came in is, how do I get a login for a new user?
So if you're currently ordering from Forshaw and you're already set up on the app, it really depends on what type of user you're wanting to set up. The Forshaw team does need to create managers, but through the Foresight portal, technicians can be added by the managers.
Question, it was, will there be a history of what a tech has requested and how much?
Yes, so within the technician user side within the portal, there's a history that will show their specific request. It also tracks within the mobile app. So on the mobile side, outside of the portal, on the manager side, again, that's going to be 30 days and the same with the technician. And then it will be available on the reports as well in the portal.
And how long is that history available to be viewed?
So within the portal, it will be updated monthly. So if you needed anything kind of, more than a month back, just contact the Foresight team and we'll be able to get that for you. On the mobile app itself, it's also a rolling 30 days.
And a question was, what type of support does Foresight offer for folks using the app?
Yes. So I'm the onboarding manager and then also a direct contact. So you can always contact me. We do have a help team and a help desk that's been set up. During the onboarding process, when you're working directly with me, I'll make sure you have all of your training guides before we complete the training session of it. We do have videos. I will typically conduct live training sessions. And then the support help desk can be accessed through Freshdesk. And so that would just be an email address that you could contact anytime you had any questions.
Okay. Let me just take a quick look here. I think we got through everything. Helen, anything else you want to mention here?
No, I don't want there to be any confusion when they were asking about setting up users. And I said, if you were a Forshaw customer, it is something that is available to our customers. If you're not a current customer, it doesn't mean that you can't use it. We would just need to set you up as a customer. So I didn't want people to think that if they weren't currently ordering from Forshaw, it's not available for them at all. It does, offer the benefit if you are ordering from Forshaw, but if you're not a customer now, it doesn't mean you can't become one.
Great. All right. It looks like I think we got through all the questions, but again, if there are any that we weren't able to get to, or that folks might come to mind a little bit later on, jot down Helen's information there, and I'm sure she'll be able to get back with you with any kind of follow-ups. So Helen, thank you for your presentation and for Forshaw being a part of our vendor showcase today.
Thank you, Brad. I was so happy to be a part of it. And thank you all for taking the time to listen to me ramble on.
Thanks.
Everybody have a great day.
Okay, great. We are going to move on to the next part of our vendor showcase. And as I mentioned previously, bed bugs are a big part of our vendor showcase this time around. And the market, the bed bug market really continues to evolve. And one of the areas that a lot of PCOs have been getting into is preventive programs for bed bug control. And one of the products they've been turning to is the Active Guard from Allergy Technologies. So right now, we're going to hear from 3 different folks involved with the product. First, Joseph Latino, from the president of Allergy Technologies. He's going to sort of guide us through the next presentation and introduce our speakers and talk a little bit more about the product. We've also have Dr. Jim Ballard. A lot of folks in the industry know Jim, longtime technical director there with FMC, and also the proprietor and Ballard Consulting. And also we're going to hear from Charles Serbini, who's the Executive Vice President of Corporate Exterminating, Inc. And he's going to give you some of his real hands-on experience using Active Guard. So with that, we're going to turn things over to Joseph.
Yes, Brad, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good to go, Joseph.
Excellent. I'm going to keep this nice and short and sweet because you did all the heavy lifting with the introductions. So what we're about to see now is a video that's pre-recorded with myself, Dr. Jim Ballard from Ballard Consulting, and Chuck Serbini, Vice President of Corporate Exterminating, about the ATAC program, which is a cost-efficient, time-efficient, and highly efficacious program, strategic model or program for the control and prevention of bed bugs in affordable housing. And then we should have some time left over for a few questions and possibly robust answers. So from that point on, let's go ahead. sustainable model of control and prevention of bedbugs at the community level within affordable housing complexes. The objective of the initial demonstration of ATAC is to confirm its viability and potential success in the field. Allergy Technologies' Affordable Housing Control and Prevention of Bedbug Program, whose acronym is ATAC, is a multi-layered, multifaceted strategic approach, adopting the best products and methods to initially clear the housing complex of detectable bedbugs. After clearance of bedbugs facility-wide, environmentally low impact, long-lasting, proven preventive products such as active mattress liners and insecticidal dusts will be applied throughout the complex. This is referred to as phase 1 of the program. Phase 2 continues with monthly surveillance of monitors by a PMP, periodic inspections by staff, enhanced resident reporting, and timely inspection and treatment of any incidents that may occur throughout the balance of the 2-year demonstration. This demonstration's success relies on enhanced cooperative effort between property management, the pest management professional, and the residents. Traditionally, as we know, some residents have been unwilling or unable to follow important recommendations necessary for the elimination of bedbugs in their units. ATAC is distinguished by the requirement that property management adopt an active role to support this bedbug control and prevention program through supportive engagement and assistance of residents. I'd like to now introduce my co-panelists today. We have Dr. Jim Ballard of Ballard Consulting, who earned his PhD in entomology in '82 from the University of Nebraska. For over 30 years, Jim has acted in the capacity of technical manager and specialty product manager in business development, product development, and a manager for termites and senior urban entomologist for FMC Professional Solutions. I personally have had the pleasure of knowing Jim for the last 10 years and have enjoyed a productive and rewarding experience with him in the development of active mattress liners. Second, I have Chuck, formerly known, I should say, as Charles Servini, who serves as the Executive Vice President of Corbett Exterminating Incorporated. After a career, I should say, in property management, Chuck has become the technical lead for Corbett, whose specialty has been pest management and affordable housing. Chuck has really offered us phenomenal expertise in both practical IPM in this sector, but also unique insights into how to best work with property management to affect time and cost-efficient outcomes. Now well into our second year working together, Chuck continues to be a font of information for us, both in best management practices and program success. And now for me, I am Joseph Latino and have been with Allergy Technologies for over 10 years, most notably as its president for the last 5. I'm a doctorally trained biochemist with over 30 years of experience in EPA and FDA regulatory submissions, medical device product development, and bedbug-specific pest control since 2003. And while I've had the privilege of shepherding the development of the company's unique active mattress line, Allergy Technologies founder has instilled in all of us a commitment to act as stewards of the community. And as such, this basic principle was the main driver for the conception of the ATAC bedbug program. So you know what, Jim? Why don't we kick off this discussion? What were some of the driving forces for bedbug control and prevention in affordable housing?
Well, bedbugs continue to plague affordable housing nationwide. The trajectory of bedbug infestations continues to rise, and the quality of life of residents continues to be negated. And the housing authorities find that this is an unsustainable year-over-year remediation or issue in managing their finances. And so basically we need to have a different approach to doing bedbug control. So rather than doing reactive infestation control, we're going to look at prevention of infestations as a better strategy, which has already been adopted in the hospitality industry. So basically, we're looking at the use of a select group of products which are field proven to reduce bedbug infestations, and through early detection, through enhanced staff and resident engagement, leading to prompt intervention as a better strategy than what the industry has been using in the past. The ATAC program is basically a program that is tailored because of the education of the residents in the Northeast IPM to bring some education to the residents, to reduce the stigma of bed bugs, the fear of eviction, and to basically provide some basic training for residents so that they can help to identify bed bug infestations earlier and to allow management to step in. The education materials that were provided to the residents were translated into the predominant languages of the residents, and multilingual residents also contributed to the education by helping to answer questions for their brethren. The preventive IPM-centric approach is basically a significant improvement. Hopefully, we can do a better job of reducing bed bugs in the environment and come up with a way of improving the lifestyle of the residents. And some other approaches here would also include meetings with resident councils to try to get their buy-in as well. Chuck, you've been the contract pest management company for this demonstration site. Perhaps you can share some information on this.
Thank you, Jim. I think historically, the way this site was, specific site was chosen for the demonstration, the history at the site showed that they had about 80 to 90 bed bug treatments being done per year. And that's a very expensive proposition for them. 2018 and 2019 is pretty much the same. It was between 80 and 90 bed bug treatments each of those years. Some of the treatments were same unit, like kind of repeat offenders, because the occurrences came many months apart. So we might have treated a unit early in the year, and then toward the end of the year, we find ourselves back in the same apartment, treating it again because they have a reinfestation. Considering bed bug biology and behavior, it really guided us towards these were reintroductions as opposed to situations where the bed bugs weren't eliminated from the unit. Our standing protocol dictates that after the initial treatment is done, we perform 4 consecutive detailed follow-up inspections, including adjacent units, and it's over a 2-month period. So we're doing the additional due diligence for a full 60 days after the treatment is done. So we're relatively certain that these units were clear of bed bugs from the treatment process. The aggressive approach that we take minimizes the opportunity for reemergence. This is all very important because we don't want to look at reinfestations as outliers because they're really not. They are part of the problem and part of the equation of this particular complex, and it goes beyond that because we see this all the time in multifamily housing. The population at the particular site that was chosen includes families and seniors, and is pretty typical of community living environments that we see in affordable housing. Historically, resident cooperation and engagement was not always optimal. At the site, we had several situations where we made numerous appointments to try to get into a unit to treat or to reinspect until we were allowed to enter and do what we had to do. So overall, the site was the perfect place for the demonstration project.
Thank you. I mean, that kind of gives us a very good perspective or retrospective on what was going on beforehand. But what I'd really like to see, or I think our listeners would like to know, is more about now the ATEC process, okay? Kind of from an operative standpoint. So as Corbett was is the contracted PMP for the demonstration, which is the initial site for the ATEC program, could you kind of give us, from your perspective, an idea of the ATEC process?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Joseph, I'll try to give a simple enough overview because there's a lot of moving parts and everybody's involved in it, and that's a very important aspect of it. The involvement of site management, the involvement of the residents and engagement of the residents, and also the involvement of the pest control company that is actually doing the work. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And that's the ATAC program brings those entities together. So in the beginning, we wanted to start with a clean slate. and get as close to a picture of 0 bed bugs at the site community-wide. In order to do that, the first step was to bring in bed bug scent detection canines, some good dogs that are reliable, and we performed community-wide inspections in every unit and the common areas. In units where there were alerts, we sent PMP, pest management professional, our technicians, into those units to do confirmation inspections. And where bed bugs were found, the PMP graded the degree of the infestation in each positive unit. So after the treatments were done, and all the positive units, we did thermal elimination treatments in these units. After the units were cleared, nearly every apartment participated in then the preventive phase of the demonstration. And the preventive phase includes installing active mattress liners on all of the beds, preferably on the box springs. If there was a box spring, that was our operational way we went about using the active liners, and application of desiccant dust inside of every wall void throughout each apartment. So all the bedrooms, living room, bathrooms, everything was, all the wall voids were dusted with a silica gel desiccant into all of the voids. This prevents bed bugs from migrating from unit to unit, and will eliminate bed bugs that are already nesting or harboring inside the wall voids, because we know from experience they do that. We also installed, as the last phase of the preventive arm, we installed bed bug passive monitors under all of the beds, couches, and upholstered seating that may be used for sleeping. Because when you go into the living room and you see a couch that's kind of well worn, you can tell it's well used. That's kind of a red flag piece of furniture. We want to make sure we monitor that type of piece of furniture. So if we'd never ran across the situation, but it's interesting that we had a contingency for it. If bed bugs couldn't be eliminated because a mattress was seriously damaged, had open seams, or ripped, a lot of times you find bed bugs getting deep into the mattress itself, and there's no real way, not heat, not chemical, there's no effective, intelligent way to get rid of bed bugs that get deep inside of a mattress. So the contingency for that was to put an encasement, put the mattress in an encasement. Because in affordable housing and other housing, other situations, we can't always think people are going to have the money to replace a mattress. You know, it's not a planned expense at that point. So putting the mattress in an encasement is a good way to salvage the mattress. It's still functional, and they can continue using it. So that's, and the active liner at that point would be placed over the encasement. And it would work just as well as if there were no encasement there. It works the same way. So in common areas, that's what we did in the units. In common areas, we put a limited number of active monitors with lures in strategic places so we can detect if there's any bed bug activity in the common areas. So everything was covered, units and common areas. And the demonstration included our PMPs performing monthly inspections, and we still do, of the monitors that we placed in the apartments and common areas for bed bugs, and on a quarterly basis by the on-site staff. The staff had been trained before we started the actual process of inspections and treatment. The staff was trained by the Northeast IPM Center through Cornell University, and it was funded by HUD. So the staff had really good training and good education about bed bugs, how to look for them, what to look for, where to look. So they all became kind of internal experts on locating and detecting bed bugs. So if a PMP or a member of the staff or a resident found or suspected bed bugs, then we would go in and perform a thorough visual inspection, and the PMP at that point would grade the level of infestation. Then in turn, that dictates the treatment approach that we're going to take to remediate the bed bug situation. So ideally, and this is one of the, because it's fine to get rid of bed bugs and to have programs that eliminate bed bugs, but moving forward is probably more important what happens as we move forward into the future away from the original treatment dates and inspection. So ideally, engaged residents will report bug sightings right away, and that's what we want, because we also did educational sessions with the residents on how to detect bed bugs, the importance of detecting bed bugs, what to look for, how they get from one apartment to another, one place to another. So having residents engaged is very important. And this in combination with our proactive monitor inspections and early detection by the site staff will lead ultimately to less invasive and less costly localized treatments, which is also a way we look for in the program to save the site and management company money moving into the future. So it also decreases the likelihood of bed bug migration. When you catch it early, it decreases the likelihood of migration from unit to unit. It decreases the likelihood of visitors or the resident going to visit someone and bringing bed bugs along with them. So when it comes to bed bugs, sooner the better. And we put that into practice. In addition, we anticipate residents will begin to enjoy an improved quality of life through fewer bed bug issues, reduced contact exposure to service technicians, and less disruptive treatment if there is a reintroduction. So overall, it's a tightly controlled, very efficient process. Jim, you've been ordering and tallying the results of the demonstration. What can you share with us about that?
Well, after the first year of the demonstration, as a result of screening 470 units, treating those, remediating those with heat, or the ones that needed to be treated, and the installation of preventive measures have all been installed, 97% of the units have had no reintroductions or no reinfestations to date, which is a pretty significant occurrence. As we have finished completing phase one, any bed bug related activities that have shown up are basically the result of routine social interactions, such as exchanging belongings between residents and the removal of preventive measures, which is basically common activity in community living like this. As far as the thermal remediation, there was an 81% reduction in the number of required thermal treatments, which was a savings of $40,000 in the first year to management. And it's projected that the second year would be at least another $100,000 of savings as we move forward. The other significant finding of this demonstration was that in the first year, there was a 40% reduction in contact time between the residents and the staff. And basically, given that the social distancing guidelines associated with COVID and the pandemic, that this reduction in contact time between residents and staff and pest control companies and others is a significant and important finding. Joseph, what sort of feedback have you received from the residents?
Oh, thank you, Jim. When we started the demonstration, I think Jim had best coined it, but I think Chuck reiterated the point that they've been in programs like this before. And really, you have to sort of under-promise and over-deliver, because residents hear all these promises that are being made. And I think that we've kind of fulfilled our mission, so to speak, at least to date. Coming from the resident council president, and you see the quotes on the screen as we speak. I don't need to reiterate them verbatim, but you see that, problem that she receives as the tenant council president is she's constantly, were in the past, being inundated with bed bug complaints. Okay, everything was bed bugs, bed bugs, bed bugs. You have 80 to 90 treatments in a course of a year, and you're approximating, how many, 5 a month, 6 a month, 7 a month in some cases, maybe even 8 a month. It becomes a daunting task to manage the residents, because residents have to be displaced from their units, et cetera. So I think from the tenant council position, as we can see from the quote, I mean, they haven't had any outbreaks of bed bugs. It's great that they haven't received any calls about bed bugs. It used to be their biggest issue. No, but that's a quality of life issue, of course. But then we look, of course, to the community manager, the person that's actually handling it on a day-to-day, the site manager. And from them, obviously, the amount of money they've been able to save, the anxiety that they've been able to be relieved from, the fact that they are not having to deal with bed bugs on a day-to-day basis. It's in a very structured environment now. Fortunately, as we see, the number of outbreaks have been minimal, almost nil. I don't want to say 100%. I think Jim quoted 97.4%. But frankly, that was because we've still vying to get into some units. Okay, that's just the nature of affordable housing. But it allows management now to focus. It allows management now to focus on the things that are important to them that are not bed bug related. Okay, they can get onto the business of managing the property and not being so inundated, I should say, with bed bug related events. So one of the things, Chuck, I know that Jim gave us a very kind of didactic view, okay, of what the results were. But your feet are on the ground. We're kind of distanced from it. Sponsors, Jim doing data auditing and monitoring from the ground. And I think it's worth repeating. Okay, from your perspective, what does this mean for control in affordable housing?
That's a very good question, Joseph. And programmatically, I think what we've seen so far in year one in the demonstration project has just been phenomenal. In my top three, I would definitely put that we decreased the number of bed bug treatments by 80% in the first year alone. Compared to historical data for the community, that means for every 5 treatments we were doing 2 years ago, we're now doing just 1. So it's a tremendous decrease in the number of bed bug remediations that are needed. Proactively clearing the entire community of bed bugs, then performing the preventive phase allowed us to exercise and then maintain, which is really important, incredible control. I think the second thing, an extraordinary, I think Jim said 97.4% decrease in bed bug reintroductions. It's amazing, amazing. And it's a direct result of the ATAC's prevention-based strategic approach. The other thing that comes to mind is saving money. Savings of at least $40,000 in bed bug costs in year one of the program, and then projections approaching $100,000 savings in year two. For the demonstration community, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. But Joseph, I just gave you some of the headline results. But what about some of the less obvious but equally important ones?
Thank you. I agree. One of the things I did want to add just to what you were saying, when we see this 81% reduction in treatments year over year as compared to historical, I just want to remind the people that are listening to this, that was because we consolidated all the treatments at the upfront, at the beginning of the study. Because as you had said, Chuck, we were taking that clean slate mentality.
Right.
Whereas those treatments would have been probably dispersed throughout the year. Okay.
Dispersed, not to cut you off, dispersed throughout the year and then cause additional problems throughout the year.
Correct.
So absolutely.
I was going to reflect back on that because you said that many times you had retreatments, and then when I say retreatments, and we knew they were reintroductions, maybe because of behavior or things of that nature, importing infested goods. I wasn't suggesting a reemergence, but there was a lot of repetitive work that was being done, and it appears that the preventive phase has at least made significant inroads in reducing that. But you talk about additional benefits, and Jim, you alluded to this. The fact that we can reduce the contact time between technicians and residents and staff, it's always important. It could never be more poignant, okay, during COVID. I mean, let's face it, we took a hiatus in this demonstration for a few months during COVID, okay, in the height between March and August, because frankly, there was just a concern about interfacing with residents, with staff and technicians. The problem here has been by taking a preventive approach. If you take as we did, and we took the aggregate amount of time that is normally used to service this property historically as compared to the first year of the demonstration, a 40% reduction is huge. I think the fact that we've improved the quality of life of residents has always been our mantra. It's always been, what are we trying to do? This is a resident-centric program. We've asked for their engagement. We've trained them. We've tried to induce them to get away from the stigmata. Okay, so there's a lot of bed bugs, which, let's face it, a lot of tenants just don't want to report bed bugs because they're concerned. So I think there are a lot of additional benefits. Okay, but that's a lot about ATAC. But and I show you this slide of the man going up the hill or climbing up the hill, and I think this is a success story. Jim, what I'd like to ask you about next, and kind of in getting close to the end of our presentations, you've been working with me and with Algie and with Chuck and with the entire collaborative team on the ATAC program. What's next in store for ATAC? We're at ATAC bedbug now. Where do you see ATAC going?
That's a good question. We've had some great success thus far, and I think what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be looking at ATAC asthma. There's a lot of interest in managing house dust mites, cockroaches, bed bugs, and mice, all of which are significant contributors to allergens, which influence the asthma symptoms of residents that live in these properties. And so that's probably where we're going to be heading next. The objectives for something like this would be looking at the distribution of house dust mites and cockroaches and bed bugs and mice in multifamily housing, implementing and evaluating a housing-wide control program, and looking at the evaluation of the control prevention methods from the standpoint of how does it have any impact or effect on symptomology of the residents living in these properties. We're going to be engaging with public health facilities, hospitals, emergency responders, all of which collect information on things like inhaler reduction use of inhalers, reductions in lost work and school days, and also whether or not there's any reduction in asthmatic effects among the residents of these properties. And so that's basically what we're going to be looking at. We're anticipating that this ATAC asthma program will have some impact on reduction of symptoms from asthmatics living in these properties. And so that's what we're hoping to find anyway as we move forward.
Well, Jim, Chuck, I really thank you. COVID has certainly put a different slant on how we would normally be presenting this if we were in beautiful downtown Denver, where the global summit is typically held. Certainly, we would be presenting in the flesh, as they speak. This has been a really engaging conversation about the features and benefits of ATAC. I believe this program can be replicated in other affordable housing sites, and it's anticipated that anyone that wishes to replicate this certainly will enjoy similar results. And I believe I speak for the panel now that the results have been extraordinary. I want to thank Chuck Sabini from Corbett, Dr. Jim Ballard as well for participating today. Certainly come by the exhibitor booth and the exhibitor hall, and one or many of us will be there throughout the exhibit to talk about ATAC and give you more information. There's a handout that we've created, a synopsis that you can get either at the showcase or certainly at the exhibitor booth. If you miss all of those opportunities and you want to contact us, you can certainly contact us at info@allergytechnologies.com or call us at 215-654-9988. And we really look forward to it. And we really believe that we're, as they say euphemistically, we're onto something here. And we'd like to share this with everyone. So, gentlemen, thank you. Listeners, thank you. And have a great day.
All right. Great video, guys, and terrific work that you guys are doing in some of those really tough environments for people really at need. Some questions that came in, and I've also got a few that we can go through here. One that came in was, what about doing work in prison environments? Has the ATAC program been in use in those environments, or are there any plans in the future?
I'll answer that one. Prison environment, every community poses a unique obstacles and opportunities. I would imagine it hasn't, to answer your question directly, ATAC has not been implemented yet in a prison environment. I would think the only problem in that environment, without being prejudicial, is the maintenance of the preventive measures, that they're not, because they're being placed on the kind of an industrial mattress, are they being moved around and things of that nature? I would think that that may pose an issue. But the answer to the question is something we would love to explore if the opportunity arose.
A question came in was, if a PMP wanted to offer this program to a property manager with a 100 unit, parentheses, 1 bedroom apartment block with say 30% of units with active infestations, how much would they quote for the first year?
I'll take that one also. 30% is relatively high, considering the national average is about 12.5% with large error bars, according to Chang Lu. I would think that you'd probably be looking at all in with the thermal remediations, the canine inspections, the installation of the preventive measures in all the units, probably looking at something in the order of about $50,000 in the first year. However, at that point down, there would be relatively no expenses. So we try to think of this as amortizing the cost of ATAC over 2 years, because the end of the first year and all of the second year would relatively be nominal. It would basically just be monthly surveillance, probably just checking the monitors on a monthly basis, maybe doing a periodic inspection. You wouldn't incur using the canines again unless there were any outbreaks. Our present demonstration demonstrates that we've been effective without having to implement the dogs, one more time.
Question was, how has the installation of preventive measures after cleaning out the facility of detectable bed bugs assisted in the program's success?
Chuck, could you address that, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a critical aspect of the program's success, because what we've seen over the course of the year is absolute proof that the program and the active liners work in prevention. We have not had the frantic call that the apartment is full of bed bugs and it's gotten out of hand, and it hasn't been anything like that for the entire year plus since the program started. And I put a lot of it on what we've done in the preventive arm of the program, which includes the active liners and dusting of wall voids. We just have not had any incidents like that.
Joseph, the next question was, you had mentioned that property management saved approximately $40,000 in year 1, but projected savings to be $100,000 in year 2. Why the dramatic discordance in amounts?
Simply, as you heard in the demonstration, all the thermal remediations were compressed into the very beginning of the program in year 1. So were the canine inspections, etc. Even addressing the previous question about how much would it cost to do a 30% infested 100 unit. All of those costs are relatively upfront in the program. So when we look at the program in the end of year 1 and year 2, for example, in this particular facility that we're working, their annual bed bug related pest control costs were close to $140,000 a year. We know that based upon what we're seeing now with breakthrough reintroductions, which are almost nil, and monthly monitoring, I say $100,000 reduction. I think I'm being modest. It may even exceed that. It's a tremendous change. Not that everything has to be about money, but certainly that's a driving force when property managers are considering adopting a program such as this.
The next question was, do you envision that the ATAC program would effectively work in other multi-occupant facilities aside from affordable housing?
Jim, do you think you could address that? Jim, you're on mute. You're on mute on your phone. There we go.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Basically, there's no reason why multifamily housing would be able to handle this. Probably the bigger challenge for multifamily facilities is that they need to remember that there's a switch here between reactive and preventive control of bed bugs. So if you're going to work with this program, management of these multifamily facilities has to embrace a preventive approach, which, as Joseph and Chuck have already indicated, changes around where some of the costs come in for the control. And it also means that these facilities have to embrace the prevention approach so that they can work closely with residents and with the pest control company involved to make this program happen. And so it's basically just a small philosophical change, but it's important.
Question came in is, at the outset of the demonstration, did the principals envision that the magnitude of the results that have been seen to date?
I can deal with that. I think that when we first introduced the program, and Jim was there and Chuck was there, we were talking about numbers that were similar to what we see in hospitality, of, you know, in the orders of 70%, 80% in terms of prevention infestations. I think we quoted 70% because we didn't know how badly the units were infested, because they hadn't undergone a canine sweep. And we didn't know how bad the bedbug challenge was going to be on the exterior of the property, nor did we know how well management nor residents were going to engage. So I think we kind of took the what I call the under promise, over deliver approach. So when we've seen 97%, it far exceeded the expectations that were suggested to management.
And just the last question for you, Joseph. Someone had asked, who is the manufacturer of the liners that you were using? Can you just kind of mention where folks can get more information about Allergy Technologies and ActiveGuard?
Sure. We try to keep the program as generic as possible. That's why we talk about desiccant dust, silica desiccant dust, active mattress liners. You notice that we didn't talk about any products. We talk about generic classes. Allergy Technologies is the sponsor. We are the manufacturers of the active mattress liners that were used in this demonstration. They can certainly contact us. You saw it on the last slide of the presentation. They can contact us at info@allergytechnologies.com. They can go to our website, which is www.allergytechnologies.com, and they can call us 215-654-9988. We're pretty easy to find. Just put in Allergy Technologies to ActiveGuard, and we'll certainly respond to anyone as quickly as possible. We'd enjoy the conversation.
All right. Well, Joseph, thank you for your presentation and for all the folks asking questions as well. Appreciate their participation. And I also want to thank Dr. Jim Ballard and Chuck Serbini for providing their insights and some of their experiences with the ATT&CK program and using the ActiveGuards. Thank you all, folks.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, we're going to move on to our final presentation for today. And again, it's going to be on the subject of bed bugs. And one of the kind of new exciting products and technologies that have come into the market in recent years has been Apprehend. And the manufacturer is Conidiotech. And so we're happy to have Dr. Nina Jenkins to talk a little bit about that, and just a little bit about Nina. She is a research professor at Penn State's Department of Entomology, and she's the co-founder and chief technology officer of Conidiotech. And that's again, as mentioned, it's the company that produces Apprehend. And Conidiotech is a spin-out company from Penn State, and it's based in Center Hall, PA. And it holds the exclusive license for the patented technology behind Apprehend. So Nina, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join this excellent program. I'm just going to get my screen shared. Hopefully that's worked out. So yeah, I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the implementation of Apprehend for control and prevention of bed bugs. I want to cover, first of all, just a little bit about bedbug biology, because we believe that understanding the biology of the pest is really the key to success, whatever product or whatever techniques you use. And we've been looking at how you can implement Apprehend in harmony with bedbug biology. So I'm going to just cover a couple of the bits and pieces that are really important for implementation of bedbug control with Apprehend. I want to also talk about fungal diseases, because that's what Apprehend is composed of. It's a specialist fungal disease of insects. Then we'll run through the introduction to Apprehend, what its unique mode of action is. We'll talk a little bit about that customer prep. We believe in a minimal prep protocol, and we'll go through some of the details of that. So assessment-based management, which is like indoors IPM, it's adjusting your treatments according to the level of infestation that you assess. How to think strategically when applying Apprehend, and finally a little bit about how important it is to educate both your customers and your technicians. So let's have a quick look at bedbug biology. So this life cycle of the bedbug goes anti-clockwise, and the important parts here that I want to really draw out are, first of all, that we know that there's a delay after eggs have been laid before they hatch, okay? And that's kind of temperature dependent, but it can, it can take up to 25 days for an egg to hatch at cold temperatures. It's probably an average about 10 to 15 days, something like that. But we have to remember that if we don't find every egg, which is extremely difficult, then there will be a hatching of first instar bed bugs some period of time after our application, and we have to anticipate that that's going to happen. There's nothing we can do to control it unless we're using a whole house heat system or something like that. And then the other really important thing is that bed bugs have to feed to move from one life stage to another. Okay, every life stage must take a blood meal before it can shed its skin and then move on to the next stage. And that also includes the adults, which have to take a blood meal before they can become reproductively active. Okay, so knowing this, we can now predict the movement of bed bugs. So even if they are highly dispersed in an environment, we know that they have to approach the human. In some cases, it might be the family pet, but mostly it's the human, to get a blood meal, to move on to its next stage and to be successful reproductively. So we are no longer looking at trying to contact spray every single bed bug, because as long as we have a spray application that has a good residual, so that when the bed bugs come to that spray application, it's targeting, if you like, then we know that we can control them, because they are going to come for their blood meal, whatever happens. Okay. So let's move on to the next stage. This is Apprehend. So it's slightly different to, well, it's very different to chemical products. It's made of the fungal spores of a specialist fungus called Bavaria bassiana, and it only infects insects. It doesn't only infect bed bugs, it can actually infect many other different insect species, but it's been formulated, and the application strategy is very specific for bed bugs, and in fact only bed bugs are on this label. So it's sold in 16-ounce containers, and 16 ounces is enough to treat maybe up to 5 two-bedroom apartments, okay? But it's not diluted. And the reason that we sell this as a ready-to-use product is because the spores are suspended in an oil, and it's very important that we prevent access of these spores to water. As soon as you add water to these spores, they will be triggered to germinate, and then you don't have a long-term residual because the spores have been activated. So they behave very much like seeds. If you imagine you have a collection of seeds on a piece of wet paper towel, the seeds will germinate, but then the paper towel dries out, and unless you have those seeds in the soil so that they can continue their growth, then they just wither and die. And it's exactly the same with our fungal spores. So we want to protect them from water until they come into contact with the insect. So in order to spray an oil formulation, we need to apply it at ultra low volume rates so that we're not creating massive oil slicks or staining or anything that's visible. And in order to do that, we had to develop this ultra low spray application kit. It comes with a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, and that enables you to apply very low volumes, very targeted, and I'm going to explain how that works. So these are the two things that you need in order to apply Apprehend. So apprehend can be used both to control existing infestations, but also to prevent the establishment of bed bugs if they're introduced into an environment. And that's possible because the barrier remains effective once it's been applied for up to 3 months. So you apply the barrier in the areas where we know that the bed bugs will walk. Remember, they're going to be looking for that blood meal. So it might go around the side of a box spring where they might crawl up towards the bed, around the back of the headboard, around various items of furniture that are in the bedroom area or in the living room. When the bed bug emerges from its harborage, it crosses the barrier, picks up the spores on its feet and body, and then it returns to the harborage and it spreads those spores to the others in the harborage by direct contact, okay? And it's a little bit like walking on sand with wet feet. So bed bugs only have to take a couple of steps, just like we do when we take our shoes and socks off at the beach. A couple of steps and the bottoms of our feet are completely covered with grains of sand. We don't have to stand there for a long period of time or walk a mile. Just a couple of steps is all that's required. And it's the same thing with the bed bug. And that's what makes this residual extremely effective. So what is this fungus? We're talking about the middle fungus here. It's called Bavaria bassiana, and you can see the white spores of the fungus emerging on the outside of the bed bug in that photograph. Now that only happens at 100% humidity, okay? So under normal circumstances, when a bed bug has died of apprehend in somebody's house, it will just look like a dry, flaky, dead bed bug, just like normal. But if you put that bed bug in a Ziploc bag on top of a damp piece of paper towel and you zip up the bag to maintain that 100% humidity, after about 4 or 5 days, you'll see the fungus re-emerging out of that bed bug and sporulating on the outside. So that's a way of sort of demonstrating that the bugs that you killed actually died of apprehend. So here's some close-up photographs of what apprehend actually looks like. So the left-hand side here is the front leg of a bed bug, and you can see the dusty sort of like granules on the leg of that bed bug. That's what happens when the bed bug crosses an apprehend barrier. Those are the spores. And if we zoom in even closer, using a scanning electron micrograph, we can see those spores on the cuticle and the fact that they're germinating, and they penetrate directly into the cuticle of the bed bug. And you can see on the right-hand side a diagram of how that actual process works. So the spore, once it contacts the bed bug, it's protected by the oil, but the respiration or the breathing of the bed bug generates enough moisture and the chemical cues on the outside of the insect cuticle, and remember this is a specialist fungus for infecting insects, triggers that spore to germinate, okay? Even under very dry conditions, and the spore will grow down and it colonizes inside the blood system or the hemolymph of the bed bug itself. It takes 24 hours for the spore to germinate, and then another 3-ish, 4-ish days for the bed bug to die of the fungal disease once it's contacted the spray barrier, okay? So bed bugs die on average after about 5 days after exposure, but it can take anything from 3 to 10 days for an individual bed bug to die. Now, we subscribe to the minimum prep protocol. We don't call it no prep, but it's really the same sort of principle. We don't call it no prep because we know that nobody wants to work in this environment here. You don't want to be stepping over the clutter and the dirty clothes and all of that sort of business. So, you know, it's only reasonable to ask your clients to pick up the clutter, put the dirty clothes in a bag and get those laundered. But what we don't want is total disruption of the crime scene, if you like, and disruption of the bed bug movements, the natural movements that we're going to be capitalizing on. So really it is just tidying up that we require. We're not going to remove books from bookshelves, clothes from closets, clothes from drawers and dressers and things like that. We're just going to tidy up a little bit and get rid of those washable items that would otherwise potentially present harborages that we can't treat. So pick up the clutter, strip the bed, launder the sheets. This is standard protocol. Place bulky items on a high heat in the dryer. And this looks like a very perfectly prepped room. We know it's not always like that, but we've left the books on the shelves, the clothes in the drawers, and so on. Vacuuming would always be appreciated. Of course, that makes it much easier for us to get in, but we know that not everyone's going to do it. So it's something you can ask for, but it's not necessary, okay? And now we're going to use this assessment-based management approach. So, you know, bed bug infestations come in all shapes and sizes, and it's not one size fits all here with respect to the way that you would treat it. So if you only have evidence of bedbug activity around the bed, which is the beginning stages of an infestation, then really you don't need to extend your treatments with Apprehend, at least, beyond that area. So you'll do an inspection and decide where you need to apply Apprehend to ensure that the bed bugs that are there will come into contact with the spray barriers once they're applied. So we'd like to refer to primary barriers as the barriers that will go around the places where people spend their time, the beds and the living room furniture, things like that. And then secondary barriers for those further away harborages where you've got a more extensive infestation and the bed bugs are maybe behind the door or window moldings or inside the electrical outlets and things like that. And if you suspect that there's activity there, then you can go ahead and put additional barriers in those secondary places to ensure that when the bed bugs emerge, they're going to get a dose. Let's have a look at how that really looks in detail. So here's a simple bed frame. We've removed the mattress, and I'm going to cover what to do with mattresses in a little bit. But the first thing we're going to do is look at the damage on this bed. If you have cakes of bed bugs and skins and nastiness, then you really need to vacuum. You know, don't rely on any sprayable chemical to penetrate large cakes of bed bugs and the nastiness that we see when things have got very out of control. So we believe that a vacuum is your very best friend. So any bed bugs and skins and things that you can see, any evidence of bed bugs, if you can see it, you can suck it up. So vacuuming is your best friend. Once you've done the vacuuming, then you can apply Apprehend barriers to address the bed bugs that you can't see. And these barriers will go around the inside of that bed frame. And then even if there was a bed bug that you missed inside that screw hole, say here in the middle, that bed bug still has to cross this barrier before it can get to a blood meal. So it will be addressed, even if you missed it with the vacuum. Likewise, you'll go around the outside of the bed and around the legs so that any bed bugs that are outside of the bed area coming for their blood meal have to cross a barrier. Remember the sandy feet, in order to get the blood meal, and they'll pick up a dose and they'll go on to die. Here's a different bed. Here we have to go around the back of the headboard. Now again, we've got these weird metal brackets here. Bed bugs could easily hide behind here. If we can see them, we'll vacuum them away. But the Apprehend application only needs to go around that back perimeter so that bed bugs that we may have missed still have to cross that barrier before they can get to their blood meal. Same principle. Same here around the back of the bed and around the legs. This is another example of a primary barrier. Here's a box spring. So rather than actually removing the dust cover of a box spring, particularly if there's not a very extensive infestation, you can simply put a barrier along the edge of the box spring so that bed bugs inside that cavity have to cross a barrier before they get to a blood meal. If there are any rips or tears in that cover, you can put a barrier around those rips and tears as well to make sure that bed bugs emerging cross the barrier when they leave. You'll also put barriers around the side of the box spring and around the top perimeter before replacing the mattress. This ensures that any bed bug looking for a blood meal is going to have to cross the barrier, no choice. Sofas and couches are treated in much the same way. You'll go around the inner perimeter, having removed the cushions. Any visible bed bugs will have been removed by your vacuum. And then before you replace the cushions, put a spray the side perimeters of the cushions before replacing them. And you can do the same thing on the bottom of the sofas as you did for the bottom of the box spring to make sure that any bed bugs within that cavity have to cross a barrier on their way out. Now, these cabin beds or captain beds are more complicated, and we totally understand that these can be extremely difficult to gain control over. And it's no different with apprehend. It's very difficult to put enough barriers here to ensure that every bed bug within the cavities of this very complex item of furniture will have to cross a barrier before they get to a blood meal. So when you get something like this, you do need to ask your clients to empty out these drawers and cupboards, and you're probably going to dismantle this bed to some extent so that you can get to all of the areas and make sure that you've got that bed properly treated. So when you have complex furniture like this, you do have to do a little bit extra, but I think you would with any product. Now we're moving on to secondary barriers. So if you suspect, and only if you suspect, activity and harborages behind these areas, then you can apply apprehend barriers to make sure that the bed bugs, when they emerge, looking for a blood meal, they're going to cross the barrier. So along the tops of the baseboards, around crown molding, door and window frames, and these chair moldings. All of these areas are excellent places to put an apprehend barrier if you suspect that there is insect activity. The only place that we don't recommend you spray is on the bottom of baseboards where there's hard flooring, because that can cause a slipping hazard. So don't use apprehend on hard floors because of the slipping hazard. It never dries. It will always stay there. So avoid that at all costs. We recommend a dust product for that. Again, if you suspect activity behind light fittings, electrical outlets, vents, a simple apprehend barrier on the wall around these areas will ensure that anything emerging from those harborages will have to cross a barrier before they get to their blood meal. So that's the treatment, but what about these missing components that I haven't discussed? So mattresses. Apprehend is not labeled for mattresses, so you do need to consider what you're going to do. Vacuuming, of course, is key to get rid of what you can find, but then you might use an encasement, the Active Guard liners, cryonite steam, or any approved product for application to mattresses, so that you know that that mattress is not a source of bed bugs when it's replaced, and then the clean bedding is replaced on it. Bedding has been laundered. Any non-washable clutter items, you know, like shoes. We found a horrendous pair of shoes at an inspection the other week, which are just, the sole had come off and there were cavities within the shoe where bed bugs were packed in. You know, these need to be treated in some way. So we like those pop-up hotbox chambers that are produced by ZapBug. These are really excellent for those sort of non-washable clutter items, but you might also want to use Nuvan strips in a sealed container. Those items can also be frozen at -20 for as long as it's for more than 48 hours. Or you could use a box, put those items in and spray an apprehend barrier around them. That's the last resort, really. But there are ways to deal with these, and they should not be ignored. Upper seating surfaces and things, well, we're going to use vacuuming there as our primary attack, and put the apprehend barriers around the sides of places. But you could also use chemical products on the top of seating areas if you wish to do so. Carpet, you can use dust around the edges if you want to do that, or cryonite or steam. And then, of course, if you're doing a whole house heat treatment, that's great, because that's going to get rid of most of your bed bugs, hopefully all of them. But as an extra protection, you can put apprehend barriers around primary areas. There's places where the people spend time, as long as those items of furniture have cooled to 100 degrees Fahrenheit or less before you apply the apprehend. So that can be done after you've packed up all your equipment, or some people go back the next day. And that gives you that 3-month residual to ensure that any reintroduced bed bugs or bed bugs that were missed will be addressed by the apprehend barriers. So it is important to educate your customer when using apprehend. The client has got to stay in the bedroom and maintain normal bed bug activity. Otherwise, they're not going to emerge out of their harborages and start walking over the barriers. We know that it requires a person to be in a room emitting that higher level of carbon dioxide for bed bugs to move. In fact, if there's nobody in a room, or there's an empty apartment and bed bugs are there, we all know the story that bed bugs can survive for a year without feeding. That's how they do it. They don't even move if there's not a person there. So they're not using their energy resources, and that's how that works. So customers have to remain in their apartment after an application. Otherwise, the bed bugs will not move over the barriers. So that's really important. The eradication takes time. So it may take like 5 days to kill an individual bed bug, but remember those eggs? Those eggs have got to hatch, and the first instars have to cross the barrier. So there's always going to be a delay before you get complete control of an infestation. We've got to wait for those bed bugs to do the thing. So what we tend to do is we require the, what we recommend is a 30-day follow-up. If you go back after 30 days, you can expect to find no bedbug activity. If you do find activity after 30 days, that would trigger a retreat. But don't worry about going back after 2 weeks, because Apprehend is still working for you at that stage. And it's a waste of your time because there's no need to reapply and there could be still activity. But at 30 days, if there's activity, that would indicate that there's a problem. Don't forget there's a 4-hour re-entry period after treatment for the clients. The product must never be exposed to water, not even for cleaning the gun, which requires very little maintenance at all. And you should never apply chemicals on top of Apprehend because almost all chemicals have a component of water in them, so that will kill the Apprehend or activate the spores early. But you can apply Apprehend on dry residues of chemicals. That doesn't affect it. So what are the advantages of using Apprehend? In most cases, and we're hearing from the field, 90% of cases, you can do a single application for remediation and check back after 30 days, and there's no further requirement to reapply the product. So you're saving on time, both in the application of Apprehend, at the time of application, but then again with the reduction in the number of times you have to visit a client. It's easy to treat surrounding properties and multifamily housing. You just, if they're not infested, you can do just primary barriers and leave. That can take less than 5 minutes. We recommend minimal prep to maintain normal bedbug activity. It will work in cluttered environments, but it's bound to take longer. So if you've got that hoarding situation, you can still put your barriers around the areas where you know the bed bugs are going to come, but it will take longer for them all to come out of all of that clutter and actually get themselves exposed. It can be used as a proactive treatment for a quarterly service. We've got some protocols coming out on that. It can be used as a backup after heat. You can sell this product as natural with a non-toxic mode of action if you wish. We think its strength is in its strength and it works. But of course, there's no cross resistance for bed bugs that have chemical resistance because this is a completely different mode of action. Don't forget that this is a biological product, so you do need to store it in a relatively cool place. In fact, as long as it's comfortable for humans, then it's comfortable for the product. It has a 1-year shelf life, as long as it's at room temperature. Don't store it in vehicles where the temperature elevates very high in the summer or anything like that. You always have to shake the bottle of Apprehend before adding it to that little spray gun because the spores settle. So give it a good shake before you add it to the gun, and then you're good to go. Never dilute or expose to water, and wear an RP95 mask when you're applying it. This means you're not breathing in those tiny droplets of petroleum distillate. So we've got lots of information and training on our website. We provide a lot of product support. We have the hotline number. You can get hold of me on this phone here. That 800 number directs straight to me. I'm happy to give advice to anybody using Apprehend, whether they're in the field or they're just considering the use. Lots of case studies available on our website that have been written by PMPs who've experienced with the product and have been really successful. And with that, I will hand over to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. We did get some questions that came in, and again, we'll continue to field them throughout the Q&A if you folks want to just type those in at the chat box, or the Q&A box at the bottom. Nina, question was, after Apprehend has been sprayed, is it visible, and does it leave any sort of staining or oily film? And if so, would this cause an issue if, for example, spraying a wall around a light switch?
Right, so that does come into customer education. So flat paint, apprehend tends to be pretty much invisible, but if it's a gloss paint, you can see a kind of an oily residue, but it's not a stain. It's very easily removed with a damp cloth, maybe a spray like a kitchen spray. Very easy to remove, but sometimes on gloss paint you can see it, particularly at certain angles. On fabric surfaces, it is completely invisible. On wood and things like that, most of the time you can't see it. But we have no examples over the last 3 years of any actual staining. So some visibility in some cases, but never a stain.
A question was, would apprehend work on clothing moth larvae feeding on carpets?
Possibly. It's not registered for that, and we haven't developed a use strategy. So we think one of the strengths of apprehend is the fact that the use strategy has been very well thought out, based on bedbug biology. To deploy it for any other pest, we'd have to think very carefully about where to apply, why, and how that works with the biology of the pest. But it would certainly kill them.
What is the shelf like for this product? At what temperature? And I'll ask you that one. There was a follow-up to that too.
Okay, so temperature relationship is complex. So if it's kept at a comfortable human temperature, like 77 degrees or less, it's got a 1-year shelf life, and that is given to you on a little price tag type label on the bottle. So when we bottle every batch, we label every bottle with 12 months from the date that it's bottled. So you can see any bottle that you get, how much shelf life you have got. And as long as you don't expose it on a regular basis to high temperatures, you can rely on that shelf life. But we don't ship under refrigerated conditions. So we know the bottles do elevate a little bit even during shipping, and that isn't so much of a problem. It's continual sort of like abuse that will cause issues with the product.
And then the follow-up to that was, if the product is expired, is there any way it will work?
Possibly. Probably best not to use expired product. We recommend you buy enough for, the 2 or 3 months, no more than that, and keep reordering. That's probably the safest thing to do. If you were to keep it in a fridge, from the moment you bought it, you kept it in the fridge, you would definitely get longer than the shelf life. But I'm not sure what the state rules are on using a product that has officially expired even. So I can't give advice on that because it probably varies by state.
Question was, how would you recommend cleaning your applicators without water?
Okay, so they don't really need cleaning. On our website, we've got a little demonstration video on how to do this. But basically, at the end of any job, you can take the remaining apprehend in the little bottle of the gun, and you can pour it back into the bottle of apprehend. There's never any waste. You don't have to tip any of this down the drain. So because you haven't added anything to it, it's the same product. So there's no waste. And then what you can do is put your finger over the end of the gun nozzle and press the trigger, and that blows air down to the end and back down the tube. So it removes any product that was towards the end of the nozzle and blows it back down the feeder tube. So that's all that you need to do. Do a blowback, if that's the right word, and then tip the rest of the remaining product from the gun into your bottle of apprehend and move on to your next job. Don't travel with the gun full because it's not watertight. There is a tiny hole in the top of the gun to allow for perfect airflow. So always put the product back in the bottle of apprehend, no waste, travel with an empty gun. And that's really all you have to do for maintenance other than charge the battery on a regular basis, but that's not every day even for most techs. And there's little indicator lights to let you know when it needs a recharge.
I think the next question was in regards to using apprehend as a follow-up application. How long after a heat remediation do you recommend an apprehend application?
So it all depends on the temperature. So if you have one of those infrared heat guns that will tell you how hot a surface temperature is, as long as it's 100 Fahrenheit or less, you can go ahead and apply apprehend. Some people find that their equipment takes so long to pack up and put away in the van that by the time they've done that, everything is cool and they're ready to do an apprehend application. Other people like to go back, you know, the next day or a week later just to make sure things are going well, and then they apply the apprehend then. So it's kind of up to you, but as it's the key is 100 Fahrenheit or less for the surface temperature.
The next one was not so much a question, but a comment. I don't know if you wanted to respond to it, but the comment was, I think bed bugs also will crawl about even if there's no CO2 in the environment is being produced, in other words, exhaled, but maybe not immediately and would be temperature dependent too.
Yeah, so I saw this fantastic presentation. I think it was either at Pest World or one of the bedbug summits by a guy called Richard Naylor from the UK. And he did this really neat test where he has bedbug colonies, and he built himself two bedrooms, basically. And because he's a brave guy, he had 2 vials of bedbugs. I think he had maybe 10 or 20 bedbugs in each vial. And he opened the lids and he put a vial of bedbugs on the floor in one bedroom and a vial of bedbugs on the floor in the second bedroom. And in the second bedroom, he went and slept for the night. In the morning, he got up, and in his room, the vial was empty, and he had to search around his sleeping area, which was very simple. He kept it simple so he could find the bed bugs. And he found all 10 or 20 bed bugs, however many they were, all lodged in places around his bed. In the empty room, all of the bed bugs were still in the vial. So it may be that eventually they're going to leave the vial and go find somewhere. But we know that they're very reluctant to move unless stimulated by CO2 from that study by Richard Naylor.
Huh. Very interesting.
Us Brits are crazy like that, you know.
A question was, with a proactive program with hotels, what would be the average use of apprehend per room and a ballpark recommendation charge per room?
Okay, so it's about time and product. So for a 1 king bed, you're going to use about 1 to 1.5 ounces. Okay, remember there's 16 ounces in a bottle. If we take next year's prices on the bottle, it's 130 for a single bottle. Oh gosh, I'm going to have to do math in public. No, I'm not going to do the math in public. You guys can do that. So 1.5 ounces from a 16-ounce bottle, work out how much that is going to cost you in product. And then it's going to take about 5 minutes, okay? Best if you've got 2 people on that. So if you want to double it to 10 minutes, because you might want to move the bed away from the wall just so you can get around the areas, you're only going to be spraying the box spring, the bed skirt, and behind the headboard. And then you're going to leave, because any bed bug introduced into that hotel environment is going to be heading straight to that bed. We all know where to find them when we go to a hotel. It's behind the headboard and up in the bed skirts or the box spring at the head end of the bed, right? So you've got your, it's going to take 2 people, 5 minutes to do the application, and it's going to take 1.5 ounces of product. You can decide what you need to charge, given that those are the parameters that you'll be working on.
A few questions came in from some of our international attendees as far as international distributions, Sweden, UK, places like that. Can you just maybe kind of speak to that in general terms? Where is it available, and where can folks go to learn what countries it's available in?
So our website has the availability, and it's available currently in the US, Canada. We do have a registration in Puerto Rico. We're still working on whether to renew that, because there hasn't been much uptake in Puerto Rico. So if there are any participants here in Puerto Rico that want to use the product, please let us know, because we'll follow through with that re-registration and make sure that it gets into your hands. Europe and other countries in the world, this is a little bit more complex. We're very lucky in the US and Canada that our regulatory systems are very fine-tuned for understanding biopesticides and how the regulation goes. In Europe, it's a completely different system, and it's going to take a long time for us to get that registration. We are working on it, but it's a long way away, I'm afraid. We are interested in approaches from other countries if the regulatory system is reasonably priced and navigable for us. We'll have to do it on a return on investment sort of decision, but we're open to discussions on that.
Okay. And we are really all out of time here. I know there were a few questions that we did not get to. We'll make sure you get those questions. And again, if folks want to follow up with you directly, there's the contact information as well. But Nina, thank you again for being a part of our event this year and for a great presentation and kind of telling folks about this new technology that there's certainly a lot of interest in the pest control industry.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
Great. All right.